Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
Look at the long shadows. Symbolic at this moment of the journey it's taken to get here. For all this history.
The long journey is over. McIlroy has his masterpiece.
All right, on a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, Jack Johnson. We head up until 2 o'clock, the next 4 hours, hanging out with you. Certainly we will talk what happened over the weekend there in Augusta with Rory winning in a playoff, which heading into the back nine, I would have thought improbable, almost impossible for him to win in a playoff. Because for him to win in a playoff, it would mean that he would blow a 5-stroke lead with 9 to play and then win the playoff round and then come back from that and then win against whoever caught him, whether that be Bryson or Scheffler. Who knows, what would have happened then? Oberg, except for what he did on the 18th when he refused to end his round. It's like, I'm not leaving. I'm going to go from one side of the green to the other, and Rory, you just have to sit back there and wait. Sorry.
I felt so bad for Oberg going bunker, and then blades one back into the lip of the bunker, and then goes from bunker to bunker.
It was so bad. It was like me. It was all of us. It was all of us playing what we probably would look like to some degree if we were playing the 18th at Augusta. You hit it into the bunker, and then you try to get out, and you fly the green. And then you try to putt it, and you go way past the hole. So now you got another 25 feet coming back. Like, it was, I'm like, good God, man, because I had money on Connors finishing top 10, and he was tied for 9th at 5 under. 4 under drops him down to 12th. So he had to par that. And he had a par putt waiting for Oberg just to simply finish his damn round. It was like, good God, man, let him finish. Anyway, so Rory wins the Masters and completes the career Grand Slam. We'll talk about that. Justin Rose and how great his final round was of 6 under and that amazing birdie putt on 18 to force Rory to make his par putt on 18 that he ended up missing. The shot into the bunker on 18 on his approach, which was just one of those, like, come on, Rory, not into the water earlier in the round, into the bunker earlier in the round, and all of a sudden you're like, how is this thing tied at 11 under when it was 14 under to 9 under? Like, you had a 5-stroke lead and you met him at 11. It was unbelievable. The drama was phenomenal on the back nine. It was great drama from both sides. Justin Rose pushing him, Bryson DeChambeau collapsing, Rory collapsing, and then getting it back together with a couple of just phenomenal shots. The shot on 16 around, like when she's describing what he has to do, and there's that branch that's sticking out a little bit, and she says, he's got an iron here. He's got to hit it low enough to get under the branch, but then he needs loft, and then he has to have it break back to the left. Oh, that's it? That's all he has to do was drive it or underneath enough, low trajectory to get underneath the branch and then loft it and then have it work back to the left to land on the green. That's all he had to do.
It's a slang. You got to hit a huge hook around the tree.
Mean, just like, but you got to hit it under it, but also have enough loft that you can get the ball to work back.
I know a lot of amateurs think they have that hook in their game. You might have that duck hook off the tee, but doing that in that moment around there to land soft enough on the green.
It reminded me of 13 in 2010. Phil Mickelson from the Pine Straw.
Yeah.
I mean, he had already had his Masters at that point. It's not like that was for his first green jacket, and he had already had a major, so it's not like Phil was chasing a major or anything. And obviously Rory has, majors. He's got 4 of them already. And so he was chasing his first Masters, but for that shot to land like it did. And then on 17, the second shot, go ball, go, and just to land as perfectly as it did.
It listened.
It absolutely did. The drama was phenomenal. It was great. It was a lot of fun watching that. And it was nice going right from the Royals game.
Yeah.
And them winning with no drama, essentially, much less drama, essentially, to then into just focusing purely on that back nine.
I thought Rory's round was just the highest of highs and lowest of lows, coming out with a double bogey, and then we go, okay, here we go again. And then he follows it up later on with one of the greatest shots I think I've seen in my entire life when I forget what hole it was, the one where he had to take an iron over all of the trees, through the branches, and...
Was that from the pine straw as well?
He was behind it. I don't know if he was on pine straw or not. He took an absolute hack, and he's one of maybe the only golfers who has the torque and the loft. Again, you have to have the loft to get it up that high over the trees. It's like, again, you go out and say there's a gap. Well, he actually hit the gap,
right?
And he couldn't help the guy who's been so stoic, especially during the round, start cracking up laughing. Credit to Bryson giving the hat tip too. I mean, of course he missed the putt, which people will forget maybe in history as it goes on, because that shot will be replayed a ton. But,
which was interesting because his putter was so good in the front nine, like he was just sinking everything, and then the back nine, he just couldn't hit anything.
On 18, the first time around, I don't think it was a pull. I think he saw Bryson's ball. I think seeing what Bryson's putt did actually got in his head, which, take that as you will, it's still him missing another 4-foot putt in a one that matters. But I think actually even the one he made, what a shot to get there, especially going back to the wedge with the wedges giving him issues all day, put in Rays Creek. I mean, that's one of the worst shots you will see a professional make in that situation. That is a choke job and a half.
Yes.
But then he comes back. But I actually thought he pulled that 2-footer.
Really?
If you saw that final putt, the final putt to beat Rose, if that was a 5-footer, I think it's going left edge, or that's going to lip out, because I think he kind of pulled it, but because it's 2 feet, it's going to fall. I'm just so happy for Rory. The emotion, you saw it just rain throughout. Everyone coming up, screaming Rory, Rory, Rory. Yeah. Almost felt bad for Justin Rose, but then you see how long he takes on every single shot, and I couldn't feel bad for him anymore.
You're feeling bad for him eventually dissipated between shots.
Yeah, oh, dog! I'm seeing him just sit there. I'm like, hit the ball,
and then he steps away from the ball.
And he steps away,
about ready to hit
the putter. Come on, pace of play.
Even a couple of times he stopped his backswing, like he started his backswing and then stopped and stepped away and looked at it again. Jack, how'd you experience the back nine?
Well, I would say this, that I'm not a big golf guy. I always try to watch every time I can. But when it comes to a guy like Rory McIlroy, he's been around for how many years now? I mean, the guy that I wouldn't say was tortured, but just, never got this type of win, never got this type of championship.
11 years trying at the Masters.
11 years.
The story
Lifetime.
Was career Grand Slam. Can you get it done this year at the Masters? And
it brings me to a conversation. I don't know why I remember this. Maybe because it's a few times I hopped in on a golf talk during the show. But we talked about the guys winning it in the last handful of years and how for the sport to grow, you want these guys chasing the best of the best, right? There's no Tiger in golf right now where everybody's watching. Every time he's out there, he's the focal point. You want some of these guys that are the best in the game to have the storyline. They're chasing that. But with Rory, it was almost this flip side of a guy you wanted to win because he had fallen short so many times. So as I'm watching, a handful of times yesterday, I was pulling for him because it's a cool story. And even though, you don't put him right now in the category of the best of the best, the younger guys that are tearing up the game, he's the guy that's been around forever. Yeah. Still a very recognizable name, a notable name. But to get it done yesterday, such a cool moment. And as Sterling said, I mean, you got chills a little bit toward the end because that is quite an accomplishment. We all know that. But for a guy that has the prominence to his name but hadn't done this, that's why I found myself rooting for him on Sunday.
I just felt bad for him when he missed that putt on 18 originally the first time around, because I thought for sure Justin Rose, especially after seeing his tee shot and where he put it, I don't know if Rory can put his drive where he did. This is going in the bunker. There's going to be something. He's going to have another wedge in his hand. If not, he struggled. I just figured Rory was done at that point. How do you bounce back? But like the entire honestly, the 4 rounds he played, he found a way to bounce back. He was 5 under through 13 holes on Thursday, ended at even. Couple doubles down the last few holes. I mean, that was the epitome of a Rory round, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
He had 4 double bogeys in the round and on the weekend, and still ended up winning with 4 different double bogeys throughout. Bryson shot under par the first 3 days and then is 3 over on the final day when he's in the final pairing with Rory. After making the joke about the U.S. Open, when they were at a charity event or whatever, when Rory was like, well, with Bryson, what he did to me at the U.S. Open, and then Bryson jokes and says, well, to be fair, Rory, you kind of did it to yourself,
Did you hear that? Apparently, he wasn't talking.
Well, let's hear that. Bryson said that he was asked after this. Let's play clip number 2 then here, just because it became part of the storyline. There's a lot of stuff I want to get into, but this was Bryson DeChambeau after the round.
Did you speak to him in there? How's he doing? Do you know?
No idea. Didn't talk to me once all day.
Did you try and initiate conversation with Rory at all?
He wouldn't talk to me.
Icing out Bryson.
First of all, there's video on the first hole of them shaking hands and talking. So he didn't talk to me all day.
Well, first of all, okay, but
didn't talk to me all day means all day.
I get it.
They shook hands
once
at the
round starts. You shake hands. You're gonna shake,
right? But what is Rory supposed to do? Have it chum it up with him when he's trying to win the Masters? Like how many times? Like is Tiger like holding court in the final round whenever he's playing? Like Chris DeMarco joked with Tiger about, hey, you tired of putting first?
Yeah.
And he said, Tiger sort of looked at me with a bleep you look. Oh, he didn't have a conversation. Oh, Chris, you're so funny. Ha, ha, ha. Funny guy, Chris DeMarco. Let's chum it up together. What are you doing later? Like, no, Tiger just stared at him. Didn't talk with him.
Post round. A little different. Pre-round, you shake hands. I get you're probably not going to talk much during the round. Understood.
Like
Post-round?
But what's the conversation supposed to be? Like, how much are you talking? Like, honestly,
I want to walk off. Just even saying congratulations.
Do they walk together? Like,
I guess they wouldn't have because
how often
Bryson,
Bryson was done before.
He seeded the floor.
Yeah, Bryson was done before, and then Rory missed it. Rory had to go to a playoff.
Yeah.
So Bryson goes away, and Rory then has to take the cart back up to the tee. Like, he doesn't have time to go, hey, let me shake hands with Bryson because I just blew the 18th hole and might have lost another green jacket. Who's going to be like, oh, Bryson, great round, buddy. That was a lot of fun that we had. I guess I'm going to go up here and be the story of choking another one away, right? Oh, funny, laugh. Here we go. Oh, come on, Justin, go ahead and jump in. Let's ride together up to the 18th as you've got 6 under on the day, and you just birdied this hole, and I just bogeyed it. It's all good. I'm going to go and win this one. I just don't, honestly, I don't know how much, clearly Bryson has conversations with people during a round.
Sure.
Or that wouldn't be an issue. Also, he was specifically asked about it. But
you can bring it up on his own.
Right, but you can be specifically asked about it, and the answer is like, well, no, we didn't really talk. I mean, we're playing our round. He's trying to win a green jacket. I'm trying to win a green jacket. Like, there's plenty of ways to go about it. That sounded like annoyed, like he didn't talk to me. He had not all day. Didn't say a word to me all day.
Bryson's trying to revitalize his public relations, and I actually think he's done a really good job. You see him with the fans, and he's out there, and he's
fan friendly. He is. There's no doubt about that.
How much of it is legit versus an act? I don't know. My point remains. Even if it is,
you're saying it's more Phil. More Phil with the goofy smile, thumbs up on his face the whole time. Like, I can't believe I'm playing golf right now.
Yeah, but even if it is, it makes the kids happy. It makes the fans happy, and so
for sure, he is very fan friendly.
I really don't get the hate. I was not a Bryson guy. You know my thoughts on the live. Not a fan. All that stuff. End of the day, I have immense respect for Bryson for, again, being as open as he is, trying new things, trying to push the game.
Massive YouTube channel following.
I mean, again, I actually I've grown to respect Bryson, even if I don't love the antics. And again, I don't know how much of it is real. That dude wants to win. You can just tell he when you are tinkering with all the same length irons and the big grips, and you have a driver that no one's ever heard of, and you're with the lab putters, and you just get a new one before all these different things. He's a mad scientist, but I think Bryson's almost skating by with the choking allegations because that was a choke job late.
100%.
Even with the fact that he never hit his irons good the entire 4 rounds. I mean, I get that. So is it a choke job or did he find ways to stay in it?
It's one of those. Andy Reid puts his team in it, but then loses close games. It's like, well, was he even supposed to be in a close game? Like Patrick Mahomes plays the way he did against the Bills in the AFC Championship game, almost a perfect football game, one of the best games we've seen in the playoffs, statistically, advanced analytically that we've ever seen, and then has a terrible game in the Super Bowl. Well, if he just played average in the AFC Championship game, we wouldn't be talking about the awful Super Bowl because they would not have won. But because he played at such a high level, to that degree, maybe there's a little bit of that Bryson found so many ways to keep himself in contention and to be in that final round that eventually it just fell apart because for 4 rounds at Augusta, if your irons aren't working, you're going to have a bad round eventually.
Yeah, that was kind of my point because if you look at some of the analytical numbers now for golf, whereas like ball striking or iron to green, he was one of the worst of any golfer in the field. So it slightly impressive.
This does this put McIlroy right behind Tiger then? Like if we're looking at like this generation then? Because Scheffler's still going. So Scheffler has a lot of career left. And I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think Scheffler is the Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth of, Rory after 2014, when it was these guys burst onto the scene, win some majors, and then sort of just go away.
Well, hell, Justin Rose was number 1 in the world for a little bit too.
Yeah, and has had multiple chances. How many different rounds has Justin Rose been leading after at the Masters? It's like 7 or something.
It's good for him.
In his career, like he's led 7 different rounds at the end of the day, but has not won a green jacket yet, and that's probably as close as he's ever been. I'm not going to say that's as close as he'll ever be. The way he's playing, certainly the way he plays at the Masters, he's had low rounds multiple times at the Masters out of the entire field.
Yeah.
It's been low round of the day, it's Justin Rose. Oh, low round of the day, Justin Rose. He's had some of those. Can he put 4 rounds together? He just put 4 rounds together when Rory also put 4 rounds together for the most part. And Justin Rose, like a lot of guys, ran up against Tiger. Chris DeMarco doesn't have a green jacket because Tiger did what Tiger did in 2005. But like Rory to win those majors in a cluster, and to win his last 2 in 2014, and then not have another one for 11 years, and finally get the green jacket, and to get his 5th, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this is 5th because he had he's got 2 PGAs, right? A U.S. and an Open because he didn't have
5.
This would be his 5th though, right? He had 4 before yesterday.
5.
So now he's got 5.
Yeah, 5.
Because he had doubled up on another major, so he didn't just have 3 trying to go for the Grand Slam. But some of these guys had come along and then just sort of fizzled away. I don't think Scottie Scheffler is going to be that. I think Scheffler is not going away anytime soon. Brooks Koepka was like a major warrior. It's like, it's a major. Brooks Koepka is going to show up and play well. And then, like, what's he doing now?
Dustin Johnson, John Rahm,
Bubba, when he won his green jacket.
A lot of those guys went to the live and
But I mean, like, I'm thinking
even
back
prior to that.
I'm thinking back to like Spieth.
Oh, Spieth, Thomas. I mean, there was a new
Rory
guy.
Rory was like around that because 2014 happens, he wins 2 majors and then nothing. And then it's a lot of like, well, he came close. Oh, well, he was out of it on Saturday, but then he stormed back and shot 7 under on Sunday to finish 2nd. Oh, cool. Well, but like, what does that really do except for he had a great round when he was out of contention and then got close, but didn't do enough because he already had a bad round that sort of ended his weekend. Because he had a tough round. Like, he's had some of those before. The U.S. Open to Bryson DeChambeau. Like, that had become Rory's story. Not trying to rhyme, but that had become the narrative around Rory. Was that he couldn't get it done, even though for about 4 years it was like Rory is taking over for Tiger. Rory's the next one to go on. Like, growing up watching Tiger, the Nike commercial they put together. And now finally has sort of a happy ending with that Nike commercial of Rory as a little kid in Northern Ireland and his dad and him out, practicing over and over and over again, watching Tiger on TV in the rain. And then it cuts to Rory, at the driving range in the rain. And then finally it ends with, on the first tee, Tiger Woods tees off. Now teeing off Rory McIlroy, and then they walk together in the Nike commercial, just do it. Like, it's been a while. That was supposed to be the transition, except for the transition turned into what the hell's going on with Rory, and why can't he win another one? Is he just over, and this is good? The story of Phil was, is he going to be the best one that's never won a major? And then finally he goes and starts winning majors. I don't know if Rory's going to – he may get 2 more green jackets now that the monkey's off his back.
Sure.
Or may not even be in contention again. Who knows?
We're looking post-Tiger, because I'm still putting Phil above Rory. So if we're looking post-Tiger, that sort of era with going from Dustin Johnson, who's 40-ish.
Yeah, I think it's he and Scheffler.
Yeah, and then if you go to like the Will Zalatoris and all that, who's kind of fallen off too a little bit. I mean, golf's just so damn hard. Yeah. I think the answer,
my sneaky Will Zalatoris pick to win, he didn't make the cut. That didn't work out, did it?
So Brooks also has 5 majors.
Yes. But he was a major warrior. That's like sort of what he did, which is nothing wrong with that. It's like at the Tiger Tour.
He's won 9 times.
From time to time.
He's won 9 times on the PGA Tour, and 5 have been majors.
Exactly.
Dustin Johnson's won 24 times, but only 2 majors. Scotty has the 2 majors, the 2 Masters, 13 wins. Rory's probably the answer.
It's Rory and Phil. Like, it's Tiger of this generation, since the Jackson, the Tom Watsons of the eras.
I'm putting Tiger and Phil 1, 2.
Tiger, Phil, and then Rory. How big of a gap though is there between?
Pretty big
Phil
gap
and Rory?
to me.
How many majors does he need to fill that gap?
Well, I think what's tough, and people will probably disagree, it's almost the argument of when you went up against Jordan of how good were you, because Jordan kept people from winning rings. Just how
Phil ran into that.
Phil ran it. I mean, that was the biggest competition was Phil going up against Tiger.
Yeah, Rory didn't face Tiger in his prime.
Phil has 6 majors.
Yeah.
6 majors, 45 wins, tied for 8th all time.
But does the career Grand Slam do anything to?
Yeah, because Phil doesn't have the career.
Phil doesn't have a career Grand Slam. What's Phil missing? The U.S.
I gotta just. Phil is missing. I think you're probably right.
Things I should have looked up before.
No, you're fine.
But
yeah,
U.S.
I do think
he
has
U.S.
He has U.S. He has second multiple times.
Yeah. So he's just as Rory's finished second.
Wow, he has second or tied for second 6 times. Phil
Right.
does. Well, that's also my point with Tiger.
Right.
Because
how many of those was the Tiger, and how many of those?
I would assume a lot. I can look that up right now, actually, because I have the year. Well,
but I just think it's part of the overall narrative of Rory getting this done and finishing the career Grand Slam, of what it adds to his legacy as a golfer in the Tiger / end transitioning to post-Tiger era. It was supposed to be an easy passing of the baton to Rory. And then it stopped. And then it was like Rory was just sort of a guy that couldn't get it done and wasn't winning majors anymore. And it was like, oh, so he's sort of in the Spieth and Koepka sort of range of like, he's there, but like he's not really doing much anymore. Then he became, vocal about the LIV Tour. And so Rory was in the news from that standpoint, but like not from winning. Oh, U.S. Open, can't get it done, fizzles out. The Masters, every year the storyline of, are you going to win? What's the deal? Can you finish and cap off the career Grand Slam? And 11 times later, he finally gets it done. And his last major was wearing this PGA Championship shirt from 2014, which was his last major.
Yeah.
That, I was there watching it. It was awesome. It was in the dusk. It was like 7 o'clock at night because the rounds went later than typical. And it was damn near dark. They were talking about if the round would have gone like another half hour, they were going to have to suspend it because you couldn't see. And so for him to like walk up the 18th in the dusk, and it's like, wow, he's won his 4th major already. No, at that point, no way it was going to be 11 more years before he won another one.
So I'm with you, though. In this regard, I think it's Rory post-Tiger era. So that means Brooks, Dustin Johnson, I think, is almost getting left out of some conversations.
He got bumped down. Anyway, go ahead.
And maybe a couple of beers, too.
Yeah.
The John Rahms, who only have a couple.
Yeah.
So I think it's Rory, but I do think Scotty is he had the most dominant stretch since Tiger. We're all looking for the next Tiger.
Yeah.
There's not going to be probably a next Tiger.
No.
The dominant stretch that he had and the longevity was just, to an extent, unlike anything we had ever seen.
Yeah.
I do think it ushered in. I think this era is a little more difficult than maybe previous eras. I think there's a lot more really damn good golfers who this is all they do from a young age. Just like most sports, how I don't think the top end, like if Nicholas was using, and Gary Player and all those guys using today's technology and they trained, they would be as good as they were back then. But the issue is it always bumps up the bottom level of guys. The players 100 through 50, I think, in any era, those are the guys that get better. I go with any generation. Babe Ruth would be a stud in any year, but would the guy batting 7th, 8th, and 9th, what would they be like? Those guys get better. And I think it's what we're seeing in the PGA Tours. There's so many more guys that have the opportunity to win on tour, and so will we ever see another dominant force? I think Scotty's the closest, but even him, I don't know.
I also wonder, and then we'll take a break and we'll get into some Royals stuff. We'll get into college football things that are going on in the world of college athletics. Does it make a difference? Does it hurt or help the case for Rory? Because I've been going back and forth, and there's a part of me that thinks it actually helps the case, but in taking 11 years to get the career Grand Slam, because Gary Player won all 4 years in a 5-year run. Yeah. Jack Nicklaus won all 4 of the majors in a 5-year run. Tiger had the Tiger Slam. Yeah. When he won 4 in a row, it was just, separated by, the year, the off season. Whereas Rory, it took him a matter of, 2011? So 14 years? 14, 15 years for him to get all 4? Does that help? Does it show the longevity there? Or it misses out on the dominance of that run of Player and Nicklaus and Tiger to win those in such a truncated fashion?
Well, that was kind of my point was, even with Scotty, is because it felt so dominant, the run of it's Scotty. Like, look at behind him. I think it almost hurts. I mean, you get the career Grand Slam. Nothing's going to necessarily hurt that much. You're one of, 6 players, 7 players? to
4. No, it's... Yeah, he's the 6th now.
He's the 6th?
Yep, he's
to get it done. So, I mean, you have the legacy on your side, but I don't think the 11 years is going to be a benefactor by any means because it's impressive, yes.
Well, 14 years because 2011 was his first major at the U.S. and then 2025 when he finished off the so 14, 15 years as opposed, 10 more years.
And he's only 35, by the way, because he didn't. Yeah. I think people forget how young he is because he looks. Yeah. He's aged a lot. It feels like from the Masters that hair is getting gray quick. Because he was so good so early on. Yeah. So. Yeah, no, I don't think it helps him. By the way,
yeah, he was 21 when he won the U.S. Open.
We don't use Sergio's 17 and finally getting it as a positive.
Yeah, I mean Tiger was unbelievable and winning the Masters and bursting onto the scene. Like Rory was 21 and he wins the U.S. Open, and then not thinking that he'd be 35 when he got the career Grand Slam, especially when he was 24, 25 when he got his third of the 4, his 4th major, but 3rd of the 4. So I don't know. I think this was a career-defining, a legacy, and 2 of the shots that will be on his reel when you look back to Rory's career. 16 in 2005 for Tiger is number 1. Yeah. It's the shot right there. Number 1. You go to Tiger Woods, boom, that. It's that.
Because people forget what happened on 17 18
17
because
and 18. You don't have to worry
that shot was so important.
You don't have to worry about 17 and 18 and him bogeying and going into the playoff with DeMarco and then having to birdie 18.
Very Rory-like, by the way.
You're not wrong. I mean, that's nobody's talking about Tiger maybe blowing the 2005 Masters because he bogeyed 17 and 18 after that improbable that we've never seen anything in our life like that.
In a season, in a round so improbable,
that's right.
The impossible has happened.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get into some Royals baseball, but I do want to talk about one of the coolest parts of the round yesterday and what happened on the broadcast and the emotions playing out. How many more majors from Rory and Cole Raygun got out there yesterday? We got Cole Raygun on the mound, all right? Not just the Cole train, woo, woo. It was Ray Gunn out there pitching for the Royals. The stopper. Q last year was like, I don't know about the stopper or anything or breaking a streak. I do, and I put the numbers together last year, and now continuing what he has done, Cole Reagans as a Royal, when the Royals have lost at least back-to-back games. We'll talk about that coming up here on the other side. And then Braden Gall coming up at noon, talking about Tennessee and Nico. Mick Schaefer, 1 o'clock, more Zone next. WHB, Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Dylan Michaels. Let's hear from Rory real quick, and then I want to talk about one of the coolest things from the broadcast yesterday that I just was captivated by, and I thought CBS just absolutely killed it in a good way. But here's Rory post-match sort of putting some answers together for Rory for about a minute here, him talking about his round and what went on.
What are we all going to talk about next year? Look, it's a dream come true. I've dreamt about that moment for as long as I can remember. You know, there were points in my career where I didn't know if I would have this nice garment over my shoulders, but I didn't make it easy today. I certainly didn't make it easy. I was nervous. It was one of the toughest days I've ever had on the golf course. In a funny way, I feel like the double bogey at the first sort of settled my nerves. The first thing that popped into my head was John Rahm a couple of years ago making double and going on to win. I don't know if any Masters champions had 4 doubles during the week, but maybe I'm the first. But yeah, just a complete roller coaster of emotions today, and honestly, you know, what came out of me on the last green there in the playoff was at least 11 years, if not 14 years of pent up emotion.
Interesting, he had talked about, you know, John Rahm and bogeying that. Also, yes, you are the first Masters champion to have 4 bogeys in a round.
Doubles.
4 double bogeys, yes. 4 double bogeys in your weekend.
That's 9 holes, baby. I can get you 4 doubles on 9 holes, guaranteed. That's a Sterling stamp, baby.
Man. That's a Sterling stamp. Yeah, and that's just out in just a regular course. You know, that's the par 3 executive course.
I don't even need to play the tips, baby. I got
you can do it. So that was interesting. Like, what are we going to talk about next year now? Winning another one? You know, can you put the green jacket on yourself? You know, can you slide that garment, that green garment, as you said, onto your own shoulders? The broadcast, though, that was just a piece of brilliance. That what TV can do that radio can't do. So from the moment Rory struck the ball in the 18th hole in the first playoff hole to win the tournament, there was 7 minutes until he walked into the cabin.
Yeah.
So 7 minutes from connecting with the ball to walking into the cabin. So as soon as the ball goes in, we hear Jim Nantz say, "The long journey's over. McIlroy has his masterpiece." About 10, 15 seconds go by. You see him on the ground screaming and crying. And then you hear the color commentator there that says he's been holding that reaction in since 2014. He hugs Justin Rose. Another, 30 seconds later or so, and they say, "Justin, incredible, all class." He goes with his caddy, arm around his shoulder, walking off the green. And Jim Nantz says, arm in arm with his best man, overcome with emotion. That was at 1:44. Now, I told you it was 7 minutes from when he struck the ball until he walked in the cabin. Overcome with emotion was the last words that Jim Nantz said at 1:44. The rest of the time, not a word was said. It was Rory holding his daughter, hugging his wife, hugging people. And then it was about 1:20 of some of the best theater and broadcast when he was walking by himself. And the camera was just walking in front of him. And the tears and the emotions and everybody's, "Rory." And he's looking around. He keeps rubbing his hair. Like 1:20 of just watching him walk. I mean, and the drama that was there. And for CBS to say, "Stay here with the shot." And for Nantz to go, "Just turn the mic off. There's nothing to be said." He goes over and he's hugging Shane Lowry. I think it might have been Max Homa that he hugged after that. Then went over to his friends, from home, and he's hugging everybody. And then you hear Rory say, "I got to go get a green jacket." And then everybody goes crazy, and then he walks into the cabin. 7 minutes later, the last words were at 1:44, and it was some of the best theater and drama ever. And there were no words needed because everything else told the story. Well, everything else. It was just brilliant. It was brilliant by CBS.
I think live sporting events brings out the best when this happens, and you let the background. It's the Vin Scully special. You know, the old Dodgers announce. I mean, that's what it is you let the audience.
Yes.
You let the fans, the crowd, be the driving factor, and you just let it breathe. And I think sporting events can bring out the best. You're right. Radio, you can't as much. I do think you can radio in sports, right? But yeah, that moment was just beautiful, letting it. And only one dump button, I think I
it was only one.
Only one.
You're right about
that. But he was talking to, I think, his friends towards the end. I'm like, yeah, I think if my boy won the match, I'm probably dropping a couple of words I probably shouldn't be.
4 seconds of dead silence, and then it came back. And I thought I heard another one there in the background, but with sort of like mixed in with a lot of other words that were school appropriate. But I'm like, I didn't go back and rewind it, and like, did I? But it didn't matter. It was just I'm watching it. I'm like captivated, like not turning away, not leaving, just watching this for 7 minutes, and it felt like from hitting the putt to get it, felt like it was like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I did.
Right when you go back, it's like that was 20 minutes of like the on-the-ground emotions leaving him, hugging Justin Rose, hugging his caddy, hugging his wife, picking up his daughter, hugging everybody else, the long walk to the cabin, hugging the other golfers, hugging and celebrating with his friends. That all happened in 7 minutes. Like it's crazy how quickly you're the Masters champion and then you're in the cabin.
When he drops his putter on the green, they always do that when they make the putt.
Yeah.
I always think of the greenskeeper going, no.
If I played Augusta, the amount of divots somebody would have to fix on the green.
What?
I'm just talking about from me slamming my putter, just being.
You would be kicked off so quick.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I
Yes,
would
I know.
fight you.
I know that I would get
Dylan,
beat up by a lot of
fight
people.
him.
I would get beat up by a lot of
Buffalo Wild Wings. I will fight you.
There's no doubt, man.
If you ever did if you're the guy that putter chunks,
I wouldn't do it at Augusta. I think I would just be enjoying myself so much.
Shouldn't do it anywhere. Even in your
what if it was
own
in my backyard? It was in my backyard. I can do it in my backyard.
It's
my
uncouth,
yard.
Jason.
It's my backyard.
Uncouth.
It's my backyard. I think it's cool. I think it's
uncouth.
I think it's couth. It's pretty couth. Let's talk Royals and ray guns on the other side. More's on next. against the Tigers before they wrap up this road trip with their 10-game road trip. Salvage a game. They do not get swept by the Guardians, although when Bobby's throw airmails Salvi way up the third baseline and then bounces away from Cole Reagans for a Little League home run. Anybody think they were going to win that game? Not me. Like the last couple of nights, what it looked like, and then you're down 2-0 on that play when an okay throw from Bobby gets them at home. And not only is it a bad throw, it's like a Little League play. You have a snowball fight. and that guy comes around and scores in a Little League home run. Like I haven't seen that in a long time. And I've seen it from Royals teams, just not a team that's 8-8 as it sits right now against pretty much all playoff teams or teams that were in the playoffs or on the cusp of the playoffs last year. Like even the Twins, I know that they weren't in the playoffs, but still it was a team that was picked and odds to win the Central this year. And so you've got them and Baltimore and Cleveland, and now you got the Yankees and the Tigers, and we knew this would be a rough stretch. And over these 7 games that are left, if they can manage to go even 3-4, like I know that that's not reaching for the stars, right? But if you come out of this stretch against all playoff teams and you're a game under 500, like what did they play? 400 baseball last year against teams that were above 500 or playoff teams? And then they took care of the teams that didn't make the playoffs, which is perfectly fine because that's what's going to happen. You're going to, win some, lose some. You get to the playoffs. I mean, they beat the Orioles in 2 games by 2 runs. They, have a series tied when they're coming back home against the Yankees. And, they don't manage to win, those games. But those are closer games that you win or lose by a play here or there. And, they didn't play all that well against playoff teams last year. And if you come into this year and you get out of this stretch, Jack, 11-12, I don't think I actually would walk away from that going and feeling pretty good about what this team is, especially with the struggles offensively and the concerns about, the outfield at large.
Yeah. You absolutely should walk away feeling fine about, what would that be, 11-12?
It'd be 11-12 if they go 3-4.
You got the Rockies right after that at home, and then you'll be taking on some teams that have struggled to begin the year. And that is the important part about this when you're evaluating a team through 16 games or so. I mean, these have been playoff teams. Maybe not all of these teams make the playoffs. The Twins are, 4th place in the Central. They're a half game ahead of the White Sox. But still, it's the way they've looked. We know they've struggled offensively, and yet you look up and they're 8-8. If this was, in my opinion, a bad baseball team, one that was going to severely regress, this stretch of offensive play would have them where the Twins are, where they have 4 wins. You look at it in a positive way and say, with the way the pitching's gone, the bullpen looks, a lot of it does seem believable. If I was watching the rotation, like last year, at times you thought maybe Alec Marsh got lucky in a few starts. He was getting hit hard. Some balls were barely staying in. He got through 5 innings, 2-run ball. Like when I watch Lorenzen pitch, when I watch Bubic pitch, Reagans, of course, Lugo and Waka, I go, I feel they can do this the majority of the time. When I watch the bullpen, when Harvey's healthy, but then Estevez and Ursig, I feel they can do that. Where now you look at the offense and you go, man, once they get going, once they face those teams who don't have good pitching, Cleveland's got good pitching, the Yankees have struggled, but they've got, good arms with that. Baltimore does have some good arms, but once you get into that stretch where you're not facing good pitching and the offense gets going, now you've got that ability to build a cushion, whereas right now, it's all about staying afloat when you face a tough schedule. Every team in baseball, unless you're the Dodgers, goes play 500 against these teams. And then when you have a chance to separate yourself, that's when you can take off. But as long as you don't bury yourself against these teams, you should be fine.
I just hate playing Cleveland. I don't know what it is. Like it just
I do too.
That's right. Exactly. I agree. It is. I'm with you, Dylan. Let them know. Let them know,
it's
man.
Getting hot is what it sounded like.
Until the end of
getting
July
hot
now.
It was a little bit yesterday.
Playing Cleveland, it's getting hot because you don't
hot
know.
under the collar, you know what I mean?
It's a new hotkey.
There you go. Nobody put one under the collar there in the game. We didn't have any of that, which I know we talked about it, but it's conversation for a different time. I just don't think with Q as the manager that you're going to see this team in a retaliatory manner against another team that you feel like, especially when Q went out of his way to be like, well, Vody reached out and the other guys reached out, that it wasn't. But anyway, it always feels like
disagree. That ass needs to be hit.
Okay,
well,
that's fine.
So
I thought we were talking
the hit maybe
baseball. Anyway, okay, Cleveland. Am I right? Let's talk ray gun. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, Jack Johnson. We'll talk with Braden Gall coming up at noon. 440 Sports Podcast Network, ESPN Radio, Athlon Sports. He's there in Nashville. Tennessee grad himself. We'll get his thoughts on Nico Iamaleava.
More like I'm a Leva.
Iamaleava.
The Ia.
Iamaleava.
It's a Iamaleava.
Iamaleava.
Yeah.
I'm a gonna Leva.
As the man who mispronounced
Iamaleava.
I'm not even going to do Kingsley.
Iamaleava.
I still don't know Kingsley's.
Suamataia.
Suamataia. Spell it.
Iamaleava.
Suamatia.
How do you pronounce Iamaleava? Nico. You pronounce it Kingsley. I think that's how you. How do you pronounce his name? Kingsley. That's how you pronounce his name. Nico is how you pronounce his name. We'll talk about that with Braden Gall. We may get into it here in this hour as well. But Cole Rayguns yesterday for the Royals, and he is the fourth betting favorite right now for the Cy Young in Vegas. Number one is Garrett Crochet, then Tariq Skubal, then Logan Gilbert, then Cole Rayguns. He started 4 games. Crochet 4 games. Gilbert 4 games. Skubal has started 3. Crochet's got a 1.4 ERA. Rayguns 2.28. But Rayguns is also leading the major leagues in strikeouts with 34 and has a hefty 4 walks on the season in 23 2/3. 34 strikeouts and 4 walks. Joining Kevin Appier as the only Royal to have 3 straight games with double-digit strikeouts. Skubal's been okay. He's got a 3.7 ERA. Gilbert 2.4. All of them have a sub-1. Well, Skubal's got a 1+ whip. The rest of them have a sub-1 whip. But what has been impressive about Cole Rayguns, dating back to the beginning of last year, and late in the season, Q dismissed it and like, well, I don't know what a stopper is. I don't know. Like, we got guys that go out there and pitch. Like, I get it. Like, whatever. But we know what it means to be a stopper in Major League Baseball. And Cole Rayguns, since the beginning of last year, when he's on the mound, and the Royals have lost at least 2 games in a row. So, if you win 2 games in a row, is that a streak? So you got to win 3 or lose 3 to have a streak. Either way, you're stopping potentially a streak, because if you lose that game, it is definitely a streak of 3 losses in a row. So dating back to last year, he's taken the mound when the Royals have lost 3 games in a row, back-to-back, 3 games, back-to-back, 3 games, back-to-back, 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 7-game losing streak in September of last year against the Nationals, and then the back-to-back losses taken on Cleveland in this one. And so in that time, those are 12 games. 12 games that Cole Rayguns has gone to the mound. The Royals' record in those 12 games, now he's not getting the decision in all of those games, but the Royals' record in those 12 games when Cole Rayguns goes to the mound is 9-3. Now, it's 9-3 to break a streak. They're not playing good baseball. They're not in a hot stretch. In fact, the last one last year, September 24th, was in the middle of a 7-game losing streak. They lost 7 in a row when he went to the mound against the Nationals. 6 innings, no earned runs, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts. The Royals won in 10. And if you remember that game, that was the game that got us the Joey Gallo swing of stay fair, go foul, stay fair, go foul, stay fair, it's fair, it's foul, it's fair, it's foul. That ball flew for about 30 minutes in the air because they had lost 7 games in a row. They had gotten a run at the top of the 10th. There was 2 outs, man at third, up 1-0, Urseg, and Joey Gallo smashes it to right field. And we're all just waiting to hear if that ball is fair.
And Joey Gallo, stinks. He's not a good hitter.
He was pitch hitting.
Yeah, he's a pitcher now.
He's not someone that was supposed to get that hit either. To add to the, sky is falling.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And we all agreed at the time if that ball is fair, the Royals don't make the playoffs. And looking back, they made the playoffs by a game. So, I mean, I guess you can make the argument that, yes, literally, they wouldn't make the playoffs with that one game, with that loss. But they won that game. They won it in 10. And thank God Joey Gallo's home run was foul. Foul ball. It's foul. And we all had a sigh of relief, and then the third out happens, and they move on, and they break the 7-game losing streak. But that was one of those Cole Reagan games. 9-3 this team is when Reagans goes to the mound to stop a streak. And not only that, it's not just like, well, they're winning 5-4. They're winning 8-7. In those 12 games, he's averaged 6 innings per game. So 73 innings pitch is what he's thrown. So right around 6 innings per game. He's got a 1.7 ERA, a 1.09 WHIP, and then 11 strikeouts per 9. We know he's a good pitcher, but isn't that what your ace is supposed to do? That when it's like, okay, you're not playing great baseball, but you got your ace out there. You got your guy. A true ace, not just ace of your staff. Oh, you got your best pitcher of your 5 that are going right now. Awesome. It's Jordan Lyles. Like, that's not an ace. But that's what an ace does, right? Is a stopper. Is a guy Q can dismiss it all he wants. But those are the starts. It's been 12 times that Cole Reagans has gone to the mound with the team losing at least back-to-back games. And they are 9-3, and he's got a sub-2 ERA, barely a 1 WHIP, and he's striking out 11 over 9 innings. And then yesterday's, 7 2/3, no walks, 10 Ks, 1 earned run, giving up 4 hits, 2 runs total, but we know that there was the Little League home run that, wasn't his fault. He's downright brilliant in these games. Now, his record is 5-2. Again, in the 12 games, he's got 5 wins, 2 losses. He took a couple losses last year, May 28th, when he gave up 1 earned run. And then on June 24th, when he gave up 1 earned run. Those are his 2 losses, by the way.
Stud.
6 innings, 1 earned run, 6 innings, 1 earned run are the 2 times he's lost in this stretch of 12 games that he's taken the mound.
It's absurd.
He got hung with the L and a total of 12 innings and 2 earned runs.
This is 09 Zach Greinke.
Right. I mean, he absolutely locks in. Does the offense back him up? Well, they're 9-3, but he locks in and he goes deeper into games and he gets the job done. And, 11 strikeouts per 9, you're not allowing a lot of balls to be put in play. And with 11 strikeouts per 9, Jack, he's clearly efficient because he's going at least 6 innings in these particular games. Q can dismiss it all he wants, but Cole Reagans, he's proven it now last year and then his first start this year with a streak going on, that when he gets to the mound, something's different in Cole Reagans. He takes his game to another level when he's out there and the team is scuffling and they've lost a couple of games.
Yeah, I'll disagree with Q. There is such a thing as a stopper. I mean, I know it's to give credit to all your pitchers, and they've all got that ability. But Cole Reagans is the guy you want on the mound in a do-or-die situation. Not that yesterday was, but the Royals wanted to leave Cleveland on a high note. And after it was 2-0, you went, man, with the way the offense is played, is this going to be a 2-1 loss where Reagan still – that's maybe the best part about him is that he could give up a run in the first inning, and that might be all they get. In fact, I'd imagine a lot of teams go, if we don't cash in on this spot, we're probably not getting him. And to do that in the postseason last year as well, the start he had against Baltimore, that to me is when you go to a different level of, oh, you can do this on the highest of stages. He's always the guy you want taking the ball. And when I view aces around baseball, it's not that strikeouts are everything. But I don't know if you can look at a guy and say he is a definitive number 1 if he's only striking out 6 guys per 9. Like the fact that you've got the strikeout total there, we saw it with Skubal last year. We've seen it with Chris Sale for a number of years. Jacob deGrom in his prime. You were just going to see 8 to 9, 10, 11 strikeouts each outing, and you were lucky to scratch across 1 or 2. And the reason I say I will call you an ace if you can get the strikeout is I bring up scenarios like 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. If you can't strike anybody out or you are a pitch-to-contact guy, guess what? One of those runs is probably scoring. If you're Cole Reagans and you've got that stuff, well, you get to a 2-strike count, you're probably getting called out on strikes here, or you're just not going to be able to catch up to what he brings you. And what I believe has really transformed him into what we've seen him now, yes, he's got a great changeup. It's probably his best pitch. But the fastball that has this different velocity where he'll throw 93 and then he'll throw 99, to me, that's two different pitches.
Yeah, I agree.
If you were saying this guy's got 99 and I got to time it up and now he hits me with 93, 94, was that a cutter? Was that a fastball? Well, he's got a cutter we know of, so I don't know how to really identify this, and that's why you see some of these really ugly swings, these late swings, because with Seth Lugo, he's got 9 pitches he throws, but doesn't have an overpowering pitch other than his curveball, where with Reagan's, he's got the curve working with the changeup and fastballs with 2 different velocities, the cutter to go with that. Yesterday, I would like to say I was floored by the outing. I really wasn't, and that's a good thing because he's doing this now with regularity, where if he doesn't have 8, 9, 10 strikeouts, you go, man, you tip your cap to the lineup he was facing for putting the ball in play. But yesterday, he was efficient. Not walking anybody is huge as well. To have 10 strikeouts and no walks, that's almost unheard of.
Yeah, 34 strikeouts, 4 walks this year for Cole Reagans. I mean, that's a pretty good strikeout to walk ratio right now. But it's a good point about the playoffs, because if you throw in the playoffs, he also threw 10 innings and gave up 1 earned run last year. It wasn't the best outing against the Yankees. He didn't go deep into the game, only went 4 innings. He also had, the sandbox home run in right field that took place with his. Well, I don't think he gave up the home run. Who was it that gave up one of those sandbox home runs?
Waka did to Torres.
Yeah, that's right. The Gleyber Torres one that was a
Gleyber
pop.
special.
The pop fly to right field, gone and gone. He pops this one up into right field and gone. Torres. Ding, ding. He hit that one all of 150.
Yes, they can.
89 off the bat. We just like,
ding, ding.
But 10 innings, 1 earned run last year, and that brilliant game against Baltimore on the road. Game 1, wild card, 6 innings, 4 base runners, 8 strikeouts, and they won 1-0. They needed all of it. They needed every single ounce of what Reagan's had that night.
What's interesting is Reagan's four-seam usage, his fastball usage, has gone up 10% this year. It was 42%, 9%, 42% last year. It's up to 51% this year. He's relying heavily on the fastball, the four-seamer, and it's working. You're right, with almost 2 different pitches, with 93 and 98, 99, the ability to adjust. Normally you see that with soft throwers. When Greinke evolved later into his career, he had multiple pitches like that. Jared Weaver for the Angels, when he would evolve by keeping guys off balance. But you're seeing it with a guy who also is a hard thrower. That's just impressive. That's not a thrower. That is a pitcher. His arm angle has actually gone down a little bit this year, something just to monitor because I find it interesting. It was at 45 degrees last year, 39. So that means it's not quite sidearm by any means, but more of a 3/4 slot than kind of over the top. So I don't know. He's getting more almost two-seam movement with it than in previous seasons. Just something I thought was somewhat interesting that he's lowered his arm angle, his slot 6 degrees. That's a pretty, not major, but that's a noticeable arm slot change. And I pose this to you guys. I actually wanted to see him go for the complete game yesterday.
I thought they might do it as well. If it was a shutout, I do wonder if it would have been if Bobby gets whoever was the one that scored first. I can't remember. Noel, and then laid there on home plate, not knowing that there was a guy about to score behind him. If that doesn't happen, I think there's a decent chance that they go. But Q did say he was cramping early in the game.
Is that 89 pitches for everyone? 89.
Yes, 89 pitches, where I would say even if he didn't have the cramping in his hamstring, I think it was, the Royals hadn't used their 2 highest leverage guys, and they had lost the first 2 games where if the Royals, they didn't give him any run support after they got their 4th run on Maikel Garcia's single, I think it was. I still believe they would have gone to Ursig, or turned out to be Estevez because they used 1 out for Ursig. I don't think they'd let him go the full amount, but as you said, if it was 4-0, probably, but Estevez is warming up at the beginning of that inning. I believe it would have to be 6 or 7-0 for him to go the distance there.
I am surprised, though, that didn't even let him get through 8. Like, there was 2 outs, nobody on. He's cruising, and you're like, all right, time to get you out of there. Oh, what, he was too good, Q? Like, those are the decisions that they've got Ursig, so I'm a little more comfortable with it, right? But it is difficult to say, like, well, we don't have a set bullpen. Like, we'll move some guys around and play mix and match. Except for Estevez is clearly your ninth inning guy and your closer. Clearly your closer, because Urseg throws a third of an inning and looks great, and then you take him out of the game. So now you've used what I believe is your best reliever for one out for Estevez to come in there. And he got the job done. He closed the door. But if he doesn't get the job done, well, then there's some real questions about that. The questions that I had when Sam Long gave up the win, was that in Milwaukee in the 11th inning. And my issue with that is, like, you brought in Urseg for 1 inning and 9 pitches, and then you took him out of the game. And then you brought in, Lynch? And then you took the lead, so you brought in Estevez. But Estevez gave up the 1 unearned run. So now you've used Zerpa, Harvey, Urseg, Lynch, and Estevez over 4 innings.
Yeah.
And Sam Long's left. It's not that, well, you lost the game because Sam Long was out there. No, you lost the game because Sam Long was the one that was left. Because you used all those guys for 1 inning, and Urseg went 9 pitches in a game that was, a tie game. Like, maybe put him out there for another one in an up-down and extend him a little bit. I would like to see a little bit more of that from Urseg, but I understand if you're saying, is this maybe December / sometimes February of Bill Self, where you play a certain way in December because this is how you're going to have to win in March? Or in February, you might be a little bit more stubborn in a game where you lose because you've got to figure some things out right now before, in 2 weeks when the tournament starts. If this is Estevez is our closer, we'll establish him as our closer, and that's what we're going to go with, and we're not going to be tinkering with that right now. And if we have to get to the point of tinkering with it, then we'll do that. Sam Long, we're going to use him until we know that it's done. And then Sam Long, hey, how's that shoulder? How's that inflammation? The what? The inflammation in your shoulder. It looks inflamed right now from here. I've got pretty good vision of inflammation. That looks like an inflamed shoulder. I don't know what you're talking about. Sam, it's an inflamed shoulder or it's a DFA. You choose. Yeah, this shoulder is kind of inflamed, isn't it? Look at that. Anybody got any NSAID? Like, you got any Aleve? Anybody got any ibuprofen back there? Inflamed. I'm going to probably need about 10 days to get this inflamed
Sam,
shoulder.
make it 15.
To get this thing figured out, okay? You're right. It is an inflamed shoulder. Great. Perfect. But is there anything, like, I would have liked to see them go to Urseg or stay with Urseg there after a third of an inning, just in case something happens along the way.
There's a few things I pulled from that because I was fully of the belief that they were going to leave Ursig out there. Why? Because the top of the order was coming up. And ever since they acquired Ursig, it was
he'll face the top.
Toughest part of the order. You're staying in there. And the fact that he struck out, I think they pinch hit for Rocchio in that spot.
Nolan Jones.
So they pinch hit. Yeah, Nolan Jones came in there, struck him out, and you go, all right, he hasn't pitched since Thursday. Probably should leave him out there for Kwan, Ramirez, and Santana. But when you see Estevez warming up, this is where I see the kind of the Bill Self analogy you made. They're going to need Carlos Estevez to be their closer and for Ursig to be their fireman if this team, makes a deep run in the postseason. And with Estevez still building up, which yesterday I want to say that's the closest we've seen to the true form of Estevez. When he gives up the hit to Kwan, I go, well, this is going to backfire where if he has an outing like he did in Milwaukee or came close to against Minnesota twice, this is going to be a bad sweep that's going to stick with you for a while. But they need him to be throwing 97 to 99, where for a while now we've seen 93, 94. But it is interesting that to open up outings, you'll see Estevez either rely on the changeup or the 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Then when it matters, he throws 96, 97. I almost wonder if that's his plan of building up. But it's great to see because he's had 1 base runner reach.
Yeah,
this
crazy.
season. And this is what you wanted out of Ursig. But I will say that the closer we get to the middle of the season toward the end, that 1 outing probably is not happening where they're going to go to a Harvey in that spot. Or, maybe Steven Cruz elevates himself to a, hey, you're our 1 out guy. You've got the power stuff where now we can save Ursig and Estevez even longer if we have to. But that at the time, I felt it was over-managing. I didn't know about the cramping that Reagans had because I said, are you just putting him in here because you don't want the tying run to come to the plate? Now you got to go to the bullpen. But glad it worked out because those two guys need to be their best relievers. And to throw Estevez in that spot, I mean, now you've got a lot of confidence in him closing the door in the ninth.
When Quan hit that to right field, I'm like, you took out.
And Ramirez coming up.
You took out Urseg on 5 pitches.
And you took out Reagans.
A third. So you've lost Reagans and Urseg, and you come in with Estevez. And as Denny likes to say, the more times you go to the bullpen, the more times that bullpen gate opens, the odds increase of that guy just not having it that particular day. But luckily he figured it out and got through it, and Ramirez and Santana, and closes the door.
Lefevre even said, I feel like he said this 5 or 6 times, and it's always when they're in Cleveland, and it's always when Quan is up in the ninth. He goes, this is a huge out number 1 because of who is behind him, and then you see him rip it to right field, and you go, now it just feels like he's going to hang a changeup, and Ramirez is going to belt one into the seats.
I hate Quan because he's good. Like, I don't hate him because he seems like a jerk. I hate him because he just seems like he just
they went
kills
from
the Ross.
one royal killer and Ramirez.
Should we start going to Gabriel Arias now?
I mean
Manzardo now passes
Martinez with catching everything in center field. Like, there was some annoying things about the Guardians. There's always annoying things about the Guardians. Like Josh Naylor, thank God he's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's still going to be somebody there that's going to do something. But they're a good team. They're a good organization, and it's going to be tough to win series against them. And they're 0-2 in these series. They're 2-4 on the season against the Guardians. And yesterday was a big game. It was one game, but it felt bigger than just one game, especially against the Central, getting ready to head to New York for 3 and then Detroit for 4 to avoid that sweep when you got the outing from Cole Reagans that you got, and to go and close the door there. It was pretty big.
Fun little number. We can take a guessing game at for the break. 257. What do you guys think that means?
At the starter's ERA?
257.
All right, we'll do that on the other side of the break, and we're on next. Sports Podcast Network, Athlon Sports, ESPN Radio. Get his thoughts on what's going on in Knoxville. Well, Nico ain't going on in Knoxville anymore. I mean, he may be still living there. I'm not sure. How quickly do you get out of town? I mean, he enters the or tells them the plan is to enter the transfer portal when he told him that Friday night as that opens up the spring transfer portal. And we'll see where Nico ends up. A guy who's a redshirt freshman, has 3 years to play. And one of those odd stories that's dominating college football because we have the first ever holdout in college football. Now we've had the player from UNLV, the quarterback that just up and quit, that according to him, he was promised a certain level of NIL, that it was not being met. And because that NIL money was not being paid, he just simply left. You've got the coaching staff there that said, somebody might have told him something along the way, but it wasn't us. Whatever he was given in NIL, he was given. We've held up our end of the bargain. If somebody told him something else along the way, a booster, that ain't on us. Well, you lose that quarterback. And UNLV still has a fantastic season with that quarterback leaving. So we saw that midseason. We're like, are we going to see more of that? I don't know that we're going to see more of this because they moved on immediately. He didn't get his way. Like, they didn't negotiate, and he takes his NIL this year from 2.4 up to $4 million. And the other coaches that have been asked about it have said, somebody skipped spring practice, he's gone. We're not going through the renegotiation. Was it Lane Kiffin? Or no, it was Mike Gundy that said, well, the problem is all these kids are trying to renegotiate. And he's like, we've already got our deal. The deal's done. That's what we've done the deal with you guys. There's no renegotiating at this point. And Nico, maybe the reports are that the people around Nico were trying to renegotiate and get $4 million because when he signed his deal in 2022, that was worth around $8 million over the life of his career at Tennessee. It was one of the biggest NIL deals that was out there because he was like he was like number 25 in the country player coming out of, Southern California. And so he was getting paid in high school, and the life of the deal was going to be around $8 million for him to go to Tennessee. Like, life-changing money, and also getting paid his senior year in high school. But wanted to renegotiate and wanted more money. And I would say there's a couple of takeaways for me. I don't know where you guys fall on this thing. There's a couple of takeaways for me. One, Josh Heupel held his ground and said, we've signed the deal. If you're not going to be here, it's one thing to go through the practices and say, I'd like this amount of money and can we work on this and look at what the other players are getting and I don't want to transfer, I want to stay here. Is there anything there left for me? But to then just skip with nobody knowing, and then you can't get a hold of him. Yeah. You've been calling him, texting him, teammates can't get a hold of him. He was at the quarterback meeting the night before on Thursday night at Joey Halsley's house, who's the offensive coordinator at Tennessee. Held the meeting at his house. Wife makes dinner, like a tradition. The Thursday, the last night before the final practice of spring ball, before you go into the spring game. They have a big gathering at the offensive coordinator's house with the quarterbacks and make dinner. And he was there. He was there with the quarterback room, and everything was fine. Then he just doesn't show up to practice the next day. Nobody can get a hold of him. And at that point, you go, well, we're moving on. Because they had already known. So that's a part of this. They already knew that he had been contacting other schools. Not he. His camp had been contacting other schools in the transfer portal in the winter. He had reached out to Oregon. He'd reached out to Texas Tech, Notre Dame, USC, and UCLA. So one of the takeaways, Tennessee holding their ground and saying, now we're moving on, man. This is going to be a headache. We're just simply moving on. Maybe my biggest takeaway to this is from the reporting, seems like this is a lot of dad and handler / agent and not much say by Nico. That he's sort of just, whether it's family dynamics of dad runs the family, you follow dad's lead, what dad wants, dad gets in family dynamics, But that certainly feels like what the reporting has come out to be. There's an element of some people even saying that Nico was told on Friday morning, you're not going to practice. And he simply has to follow what Dad says.
I guess part of me is he's an adult.
He is an adult.
If he wanted to be
it's his third year in college.
If he wanted to be a volunteer that bad, he would go, no, I don't care. I'm fine with this deal.
Yep.
I'll make money in the NFL or I'll make money post. I'm going.
You would have taken a phone call from Josh Heupel and said,
yes,
look, I don't know what to do, Coach.
So
I don't want to go anywhere. My dad is telling me I can't show up to practice.
Yep.
You have an idea of my family dynamic, which there's more to the story, especially with his younger brother.
Yes. So you work through it. That's a situation where Heupel and you can talk it through. I get that. I understand that it may not have been, he may be getting bad advice. End of the day, you're an adult, third year in college. If you want to be a volunteer that bad, and if you think personally to him the deal is fair, you'll find a way to call and reach out and say, hey, we'll work this out. We'll find a way to work this out. I'm getting bad advice. We'll work this out. Clearly, he's at least a part of the issue here, and I hate giving Tennessee credit. I hate giving Josh Heupel credit. It pains me. They did the right thing here, at least in my opinion, from everything that we have seen so far. I give Heupel and Tennessee credit. You got to move on. Not one man, not one guy who had a fine season is above the history, the tradition of a somewhat cornerstone organization. It's just you can't let one guy be above it.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody should look at Tennessee and say, man, you really screwed up and not paying him. I mean, there's going to be coaches out there that say we're not going to give in to some 20-year-old and his family's request.
I think every single coach that's been asked about it has said, if you hold out, you're gone.
Yeah.
If you miss spring ball, you're gone.
We're focused on the guys that are here. And if we have guys that are bought into being in this program, whether it's Nico's call or not, I mean, he is a 20-year-old kid, but this is now what college sports is. There's money involved. And what is very unfortunate is if it's coming from his dad and his family and, hey, we're going to negotiate, you're not going to practice, you could potentially screw up not only the rest of his college career, but his path to the NFL. Because now that this is known, the $4 million number here, the figure, wherever he goes, that's now tied to him. Where if he goes to Oregon and it's, he's $4 million, and we know what Dylan Gabriel did last year and how good Oregon was, now that's the expectation. Where if you stayed at Tennessee, you're in the SEC, you made the college football playoffs, you know the system, you know the coach, everything's great there. Now you're just going for money. And if you say, we think Oregon gives us a better chance, now immediately that pressure's there of, you got to be one of the best quarterbacks in the entire nation. And that's too much pressure, in my opinion. We've seen this now in college basketball. All these guys opening up about, I worried about what was said, outside the game. Now for a 20-year-old, wherever he goes, that's tied to him. It's not about the numbers of last year. It's tied to him about how much he will be making. And if he's not one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, think about what'll be said about him. And think about what Tennessee fans will say to him wherever he would go.
And how's he going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the nation wherever he goes? He's learning a new system, getting used to other players. This was year 3 with Josh Heupel. Year 3 of the system and what you did last year. You know the guys. And from the reporting and the stuff that was out there, apparently one of the demands from the family was not necessarily in the transfer portal in the winter, not necessarily more money at that point. It was, you need to show an investment in the offensive line because Nico was running for his life. And if there's more of an investment and they did that. They went out and got a couple of big time transfers at the offensive line. Now, whether they were going to do that anyway, or, Nico says we need to get offensive linemen, so I guess we'll go and get offensive linemen. But they have misplayed their hand so terribly here. Like a player holding out in training camp in the NFL. There's leverage because it's like, he's holding out. They can't cut me because it's a $17 million dead cap hit. So I've got some leverage here. They need me to this degree, so I'm holding out. But there's a level of when I'm done holding out, I got to go play. Jamar Chase held out and then had to go play.
Yeah.
Because it was time. Chris Jones held out. And then essentially they signed a contract just to get the money back that he would have got if he didn't hold out.
But here's the thing about the way that this whole thing works is this is almost the one time where the institutions had the power where they could say, guess what? These contracts aren't binding. So I can tear this contract up because you didn't show up to spring
Exactly.
practice.
There's no leverage.
There's no leverage on your side. You don't have to be here. I can tear this NIL deal up and go get another quarterback.
The leverage he had, and that's where I think Tennessee was most frustrated, is by doing this at the end of spring ball and missing the final game of spring practice and the spring game, you were trying to inflict maximum damage for your highest leverage of, well, Tennessee, you're screwed now without Nico because you've got quarterbacks you weren't planning on. You got a guy who's an early, enrollee who would be a high school senior still. And you got another guy that's on scholarship but is not to the level of what Nico's expected to be. There you go. I guess you better pay whatever Nico wants. And I think there was an element of, you know what, bleep you, man. You've waited this long to do that. And they misplayed their hand in the winter, too, because they reached out to Oregon, seeing what Oregon can offer. And Dan Lanning then called Josh Heupel and said, I don't know if you know this, but Nico's people just reached out to me seeing about what we're going to offer in the transfer portal for him. Like, they misplayed that. They didn't expect Dan Lanning to go and contact Josh Heupel to wear the behind the scenes. And Josh Heupel was going to let it play out. Not happy about it, but he knows what we think of him. Obviously, they've reached out to other schools. Texas Tech had some interest at a point, but not to the level of the money that they wanted. Notre Dame wasn't interested. And then whether USC or UCLA is interested, people are looking at UCLA, but I think there's a burned bridge with that one.
And people, I think, need to realize none of those schools you mentioned were SEC because you can't transfer the SEC and play this year.
Yeah.
You have to sit out a year, which is actually a pretty good rule by the SEC. In my opinion, I think it's pretty interesting. But anytime...
If you enter the transfer portal after February 1st.
In the spring.
Yes.
And anytime a guy wants to make that much money in a raise and try to hold out, well, he was the number 10 quarterback in passing yards last year.
Yeah.
In the SEC, not number 10 in the country, number 10 in the SEC. He's fine. A fine player's asking for this. This is absurd.
You're betting on what the talent level can be because he was, top 25 player in the country and as a redshirt freshman, and you've got 3 more years of like, okay, this is what he did as a redshirt freshman.
I watched 2 games of Nico last year. One of them was when they lost to Arkansas in Fayetteville, and I saw him run out of bounds as time had already expired.
That's right.
And not to say that should define him, but when I'm thinking about a $4 million quarterback and what I'm going after, I need the best quarterback in the conference. I need the best quarterback or top 5 quarterback or Heisman finalist. That's what I need. And if you can't get that, I'm not giving you $4 million.
And also, are you paying $4 million? Like, let's say none of this came out. Like, you didn't hear about all this drama and all these things that were occurring behind the scenes. Would you pay $4 million for that? Would you pay $4 million knowing that he could, 1, leave, 2, cause a bunch of drama with your team, and you have to deal with the family more as the lead of the whole operation more so than Nico? I mean, I'm not paying $4 million for that.
That's the thing. The family part and dealing with the dad. That is an issue that I don't think is being discussed enough.
But, like, if he signed with KU, say, and, like, nobody heard about all this, everyone in this town, in this state would be going crazy and talking about, we're going to be in the college football playoff.
You got
Everything's
Nico.
going right.
You got 3 years left with Nico there with Lance Leipold and what you can turn him into. And we have seen dads ruin opportunities for kids.
Cam Newton's dad.
Yeah. In a lot of different, I mean, like even in Little League, even in younger sports, like I know of a story that, that kid was playing on a pretty good Little League team, pretty dominant Little League team, and the dad sort of talked his way off the team. And it was like, sorry, we love your kid, but, man, we're just not going to deal with it anymore.
Well, LeVar Ball happened, and then everyone wants to be LeVar Ball because it worked out to an extent for LeVar, and they think they can get that.
Right, but it's not like LeVar Ball was trying to pump up his brand through his kids.
100%.
And, like, literally, like, other teams know about that. So it's like, where's that kid going to go? Well, they reached out to other teams, and other teams were like, oh, we're good. We're full. Like, we've kind of found out. Like, there's kind of a people talk. And looking at UCLA, and it's like, well, UCLA needs a quarterback. You think UCLA wants to deal with that dad? Especially what happened with his younger brother? If you don't know the story with his younger brother, His younger brother was top quarterback in California, Manning Iamaleava. His senior year, his dad makes him transfer to another school to play his senior year. Oh, well, guess what? California called him ineligible. Can't transfer for sports. So he didn't get to play his senior year. Committed to UCLA. Signing day. Signs with Arkansas. UCLA had no idea. Dad comes out and goes, well, we didn't even visit Arkansas. They just paid him the most money. Didn't even visit Arkansas. Signing day, was going to sign with, committed to UCLA for a while, signs with Arkansas. You think UCLA wants Nico? That's what it's like. People are like, well, go back home, go to UCLA. Oh, I think Nick Iamaleava burned that bridge with his son Manning that was going to UCLA. And then on signing day, signed with Arkansas, and his dad bragging, well, we didn't even visit Arkansas. We didn't even have to visit for him to get that money. Yeah, that's cool. UCLA really wants to deal with that. No, let's bring this guy in. Pay him all the money and then have to deal with the dad every offseason. Apparently he's going to ask for more. So that's the other part. It's like, well, we're going to bring him in for what, 1 year? And then in the wintertime, we're going to have to renegotiate. And then in the wintertime, we're going to have to renegotiate. And then in the wintertime, we're going to have to renegotiate if he stays again. Like, no, we're good. He's not going to get $4 million. There's not a school that's going to pay him $4 million, because how many schools have $4 million left? Do you want the headache? And do you think he's good enough for $4 million to the headache you have to deal with? And next winter, you're going to have to go through this all over again, because this guy had a long-term deal, one of the few like NIL long-term deals from a high schooler, to $8 million over the life of the NIL deal. That's now gone because he wanted more this year, or his dad and representative thought he was worth more this year and misplayed their hand. And now we'll see where Nico ends up, but I'd be shocked if he ends up, maybe USC, maybe Lane Kiffin, maybe he goes to, or whoever at that point. Maybe it's Southern California that he ends up and plays ball there. I highly doubt it's going to be UCLA. If it is, then hey, maybe they're willing to do that. But there are some other colleges that have moved on from players because they dealt with the parents of the brother and said, we're not going down that road again. Sorry, we're just not going to recruit you. We're good. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, so we kept you waiting because we completely forgot about the 257 that Sterling teased us with earlier in the hour.
I like to tease you.
And we got into a little Nico conversation. So you asked us what 257 is.
Yeah.
257. Now, we were talking baseball, Royals. Jack, you guessed starters ERA?
I did.
I'm going to guess Bobby Vinny Salvi's batting average.
Okay.
I'm going to go batting average against Reagan's this year.
Ooh.
That is Hunter Renfroe and MJ Melendez combined, if you add both of the numbers, slugging percentage. Not split in half. 103 and 154. You add them up, that's the slugging
That's not
of
what they're
Renfroe
averaging.
and Melendez.
That's combined. Good night.
little dogs. So he's a very chill medium-sized dog that my daughter's picked out. His name's Willie Nelson, and he's a total space cadet. But we have a good time.
So perfect. And the name matches. Do the dogs try to match the personality of their name, or do you try to match the name to the personality of the dog?
Well, my first dog, not to get off on this topic, my first dog sort of named himself. My wife and I, when we first started dating, like 3 months in, we found him on the side of the road, like eating out of a trash can, like 2 nights in a row, and we were like, all right, we got to take care of this guy. So we kind of picked him up, got him cleaned up, took him to the vet, got him taken care of, and we just sort of started calling him stuff, like around the house. We were just like, hey, Bob, hey, Joe. And like he would never listen. And then all of a sudden, like one day, my wife's just sitting on the couch. At the time, again, we'd been dating for like 3 months. And she just goes, Henry. And he like stops, sits down, turns and looks right at both of us. And I was like, all right, I guess he's Henry.
I guess his name is Henry.
He picked his own name. This one, I felt we needed to R.I.P. Henry, by the way. Had to put him down in February. Long life, very happy boy. Good times were had by all. And this one we replaced in June, a couple months later, and couldn't figure out what to name him. And I was like I had been told I was given a dog to be named later in the negotiations with my wife. And I've always wanted to name a dog Towns Van Zandt. That's what I want to name a dog. And so I wanted it to be like a country singer kind of deal. But like this dog just does not have Towns Van Zandt energy, like moody, dark, depressed, probably heavily narcotics, like he doesn't have that vibe. He just floats around like a dum-dum in outer space all the time. So I was like, Willie Nelson, let's go.
Perfect.
So, long story short, he's great. And my 6-year-old picked him out. They're best buds.
That's cool.
Similar energy. And, look, dogs are the best, man.
Yeah.
Cats.
Is the dog holding out for more dog food? A higher brand of dog food. Just holding out. I'm not going to come back in the house there, Braden, unless I get a higher brand of dog food. Not happening.
I can't remember. I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but, like dogs, they'll do the thing where like they throw up and then they look at you like, oh, did I do something wrong? And then they like eat the throw up and they're like,
My
are
bad.
we good now?
My
Did
bad.
I take care of that for you?
I didn't mean to do that. I got it.
Did I do good, Dad? You're like, let's have a talk.
All right, so let's get into it. Nico is transferring. Was there any inclination around there? I mean, follow the program obviously and cover the program, but was there an inclination that there was this unhappiness between the two, or an attempted renegotiation between the two, that it was maybe coming to a head that happened that quickly over 48 hours or 24 hours of, hey, he's holding out and actually he's gone?
Well, so I think there's a difference between like unhappiness internally with the program, relationships, locker room, etc., and like I want more money, or the family wants more money, or the market dictates that we deserve more money, all of which you could make the case for. I mean, if Carson Beck is worth 3.9, Nico might be worth more than 2.2, but he's certainly not worth 3.9. Look, here's the thing that we did know, and we do know, and we have known for a while, which is there were players on almost every playoff team actively renegotiating their contracts before playoff games. And we know that Nico was in that group. Now, we might know more about those details today than we did last Monday, but it was largely, I don't want to say known, but there were lots of rumors and some smoke where it's just like, no, they're looking to get a new contract. He wants a little bit of a pay raise, like all the players do. So I don't think that part of this is a surprise. I don't think it's really tied to anything else. Like, I don't think it's tied, like, there's been some, you got to be careful when a divorce happens like this. You're going to get sort of sides of both stories that are going to leak out, right? You're going to get the player side, you're going to get the school side. The truth's probably somewhere in the middle, about how, like, some of the players that are currently still on the team are kind of saying, like, well, there's no individuals on the team now, da-da-da-da. And I'm not sure that sounds more like sour grapes than anything else. I'm not sure I would read too much into that. Nico is very well respected. He's a very polite, very nice, kind person that most everybody in Knoxville really enjoyed and liked. I don't think there's anything to, like, didn't get along with coach, didn't get along with locker room, wasn't like, I think this is exclusively about money. And I think if you look at how the family has handled a lot of this stuff over the years, which includes his little brother, who like transferred high schools to go play together with like his buddy and another recruit, and didn't actually, he was ineligible, never played. They flipped on the last day from UCLA to Arkansas, having never visited Arkansas. Like, I wonder why they flipped. Like, it's pretty obvious. And again, I don't even have, the key is here, I don't have a problem with that. Like, we live in America, and I always find it hilarious that like grown adults who would do anything to increase their own pay are like frustrated with young people who want to increase their pay. Like, is this capitalism or not? And so I don't think we can get upset about it. I think we can be frustrated with where we are as a sport, and that we are all here where everyone is kind of guilty. Tennessee is guilty. Nico and his family are probably guilty. The NCAA is guilty. Like, Congress is guilty for not getting stuff accomplished. Like, everyone is sort of guilty in all of this because this is the environment we've created, and this was going to happen at some point. And I've been told about players holding out and not holding out, but like having those conversations in the middle of games. Like, in the middle of a game, like, I need to get more, as a joke or as like a threat on the sideline of games. I've heard that from sources. So this should not be a surprise that we sort of ended up with like a quote unquote holdout. I'm really torn on the value of this player, to be honest with you. I find that to be the most interesting thing, because all the other stuff is super complicated. We could talk about NIL and employment and antitrust and legislation and, you know, all that stuff. And that's all real interesting and important, and it matters. Leverage is now on the schools, and fans are siding with the school instead of the player. It's like, all that's true, but like, here's my question. What is a starting playoff quarterback worth who's young, has lots of talent, but hasn't exactly lived up to it, but probably will get better this year? Like, what's the going rate for that player? And like, who's paying that? Is it okay to pay that much? Like, I think that's more interesting in the current situation.
Yeah, and that would be a team that, one, would have money left over in the collective, or can go and raise it pretty quickly in the collective. And do you feel like you're a quarterback away from the playoff this year? And if you've got that money or the ability to raise the money, and you feel like you're that close to entering the playoff, that the transfer portal, you didn't get the players you were hoping as a quarterback, and now this guy becomes available, and you say, you know what, if it's $4 million, that's what it's going to take to make the playoff this year, then we're going to do that. But that is threading that needle of finding a team that's that good, and is Nico maybe specifically away, and you feel like he can come in, learn the system, get used to the players by the time the season starts to be able to make that playoff when he would be entering year 3 in the system with Tennessee this year. That's a dynamic to it as well. It's like wherever he goes, Braden, he's going to be viewed and judged on every mistake that he makes of like, well, this is the guy that wanted $4 million. Oh, this is the guy that thinks he's worth $4 million. He's going to a place where he's going to have to learn a system for the first time and no spring practice to help do it.
Well, and I would argue like that's the debate, is like, is he even the guy that's capable of being the player to fill the gap if that's the only gap you have? Like, yeah. I don't know if he's capable of that yet. And I think ultimately that's what's so fascinating about him, because like my text conversations with buddies who are Tennessee alumni, fellow alumni at the beginning of the season, are like out of control with Heisman Trophy conversations. And I was the one who was like the bad guy on the group thread who's like, guys, it's one game against Tennessee Chattanooga. What are we talking about? Like, y'all need to stop. This is ridiculous. And by the end of the year, they're all like, you know? And so, like, he's not even, like, this is what's so frustrating about this, is because you could see, and I could point to so many different players. Jackson Arnold's another one in y'all's neck of the woods. Like, schools now have to be so rushed to evaluate and develop these players. Players are now so rushed to evaluate and develop these players. Contracts are being signed by high school players. The whole thing has moved to the point where we all lose. Because the truth of the matter is, if Oklahoma had been patient with Jackson Arnold, not felt the need to switch to the backup and then go back to the starter, like maybe that whole thing plays out over a course of a couple of years, like sort of an old school college quarterback development process, and he becomes a superstar at Oklahoma. I think that would have been the case for Nico. Like, redshirt year, starting year with some mistakes, a flawed player, but clearly lots of talent. You step into a bigger role as a second-year starter, you become a better player, and boom, let's roll. Look at Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. Like, that's what he's doing. Backup quarterback behind Jaden Daniels, played a little bit spot duty, learned how to run the offense, steps in, plays pretty well as a first-year player, had some mistakes, but also had lots of brilliance. Now he's scheduled to be a potential top 10 pick and have a big-time season at LSU. That feels old school almost to explain it that way. But that's what Nico, I think, really, truly, I think he could have been that. So it's not that he's worth 2.2 right now. He's been overpaid for the first 2 years of the contract, or 3 for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But like, could he be, underpaid if he develops into the next player, like the version of himself that he thinks he is? I think that's okay too. And again, the problem is we don't have finite resources. There's no salary cap. There's no way to decide. The market will just decide what you are and what you're worth. And if he goes and gets 2.5, well, then he was right. If that's all he cared about was a few extra dollars, then he's right. I've talked to a lot of people in recruiting that'll tell you, from out of high school at least, that the month, like if you're a 5-star defensive end, you're worth about X, let's say 6 figures. And if you're being offered, from Texas and Ohio State and Georgia, you're probably getting offered about the same, and you're still going to make a more traditional recruiting decision. You're going to say, all right, fit, campus, geography, coaching, relationship with the coaches. You're going to make a more, sort of traditional recruiting decision because the money's probably about the same ballpark, right? Like 110,000 versus 122,000 versus 117,000. Well, maybe that extra $4,000 doesn't help the fact that I really love this other place, or I really love that coach, or I'm a good fit for that scheme. And so I think that's happening on the recruiting level, on the high school level. That's not the case when you're an established starting player. A starting quarterback's worth $1 million a year or more, maybe 2. A starting receiver, a starting left tackle, a starting pass rusher that are high level, all conference players, they're worth $800,000. That's what they're worth now. And so that number's going to go up. I don't know why that number would go down.
Yeah, and I do wonder, like, obviously, what's he going to get? That value that we talked about, that, who's going to pay him that and who thinks they're that close and he can bring in that value of whatever it's going to cost there. Like, if he gets $2.5 million somewhere, it's like, okay, you got more money, but was that worth it? Like, that percentage of increase, those $100,000, yeah. Somebody around here or in your regular job saying, hey, you're going to be offered $300,000 more than what you're making. Will you take the job? Yeah. How soon do I need to leave? Do you need me tomorrow? Do you need me at the end of the day? Like, I'm wondering what I need to do. I can just drive out there. My family will come later. I'll go there right now. Like, but if you're the quarterback at Tennessee, you made the playoffs last year. You know the system. You know the wide receivers. You're now into a leadership role. Is that $300,000 worth it to then move somewhere else and have to learn all of those things? I mean, I guess that's up to the individual. And we talk about, like, okay, this is what he wanted. This is what he was asking for. How much is it of what he wanted or he was asking for, as opposed to he represents the entire sort of group of the Iamaleava
that's
at large?
Hard one to know, and that's a hard one to know. And this is also, and this I think is actually one of the more lost points in all of this, which is these aren't kids, but they're not adults. And I don't know about you guys, but that in-between adult and kid time, not always the best for decision-making, for me personally. It doesn't mean I didn't make some really good decisions. It doesn't mean I certainly made bad ones. But, like, I think one of the things that we lose in all of this is that it's one thing when we look at a 24, 26, 28-year-old professional athlete with an agent and an established career in a professional sport, having learned with resources and wisdom around them how to function and how to operate inside a very high-stakes world with lots of resources and big-time revenue. Well, that's not what, like, 18, 19, 20-year-olds are. They're not kids. That's almost, like, not fair, because some of this is on Nico. Some of this is on a player who decided, no, I'm willing to do all of this for whatever I might get out of it. Move back home, make more money, whatever it is. That's his prerogative. But also, like, they're not adults either. They're not fully formed. Like, the frontal lobes and the experience and the wisdom is not there. College students still do stupid things all the time that aren't, like, amoral or evil. They just are kind of dumb sometimes. And so I think one of the things we got to remember in all of this is that the players have some agency. We got to blame them for some of this stuff. We also have to blame a lot of other people. As I said, nobody's innocent in this. But there is this thing that I'm struggling with as I'm, like, raising kids and, getting older. It's like, man, we got to remember that these are like, some of these players are like really mature. Some of these players are super immature. Some of these players have some experience to handle this stuff. Some of these players have no experience to handle this kind of stuff. Some of them have great support systems and some of them don't. And it's just a very transient moment in people's lives. And it makes it even more complicated to try to put rules and guardrails and understand behaviors and decision making, because again, these aren't adults, but they're not kids either. They're in between. And so this is that period of time, truly, where you learn that your decisions have consequences. Like, that's actually what happens in life. You around this time, you learned in life, when I make a decision, I'm going to have to deal with the consequences. It's on me. And that's what Nico, I assume, is going to have to go through in this moment.
Are you, Braden Gall's our guest, 440 Sports Podcast Network, ESPN Radio, Athlon Sports. Knowing the program and Josh Heupel and what they have without Nico at the quarterback spot, are you surprised that they held their ground and didn't just give in to the demands that seemed like the strategy was to enact as much leverage that, okay, we're going to do this at the end of spring football, and, hey, they don't have anybody but you. They don't have a choice but to pay you, so we're going to really force their hand. Are you surprised that Tennessee held their ground and was like, no, we're moving on. Sorry, dude.
This is also a really difficult part to analyze, because I do trust Josh Heupel to be he knows what's best for his offense better than anybody else. But you can also sense that because he didn't show up on Friday without communicating with the coaching staff, that there was clearly like they didn't handle this the right way. And my hope is that the coaching staff didn't overreact to that part of it, that this has been going on for a long time, that they've been evaluating whether or not Nico's worth it to them for a long time. And, they made a sound, smart, rational decision because they're sort of like the adults in the room. And if that's the case, then I think they looked at it and they said, he is what he is. He's 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, missed a lot of open receivers. We scored 0 points in the first half against 3 straight teams, and almost half of his touchdowns came in against garbage teams that we beat by 100 points. I think there's bona fide, legitimate questions about how good he is right now as a quarterback. And so if Josh Heupel thinks I've got guys who are as good for $2 million less on the roster, then we're going to battle with what we've got. They've got, they got a national native, George McIntyre is a 4-star kid. They got another kid who's going to get the starting job, at least for now, who is sort of like a mid to upper tier prospect. They're going to go to the portal and get somebody else probably starting on Wednesday. I think strangely enough, I think this roster was in a reset place anyway, because they lost so many veteran leaders off that team. The defense was very good. I think this is actually a healthy place for them to start with a new quarterback if you're trying to, paint that picture. But none of those guys are going to be as good as Nico would have been in his third year in the system.
Sorry, man.
No, go ahead. That's where I'm at on it. I honestly don't know. I think that's what makes this whole thing fascinating is we don't know how good the player's going to be.
Yeah.
We don't know what the coach thinks he can get out of that position. And we don't know where the right dollar figure is to evaluate both sides of that equation. We just don't know what's right or wrong in all of this.
Braden Gall's our guest. Did Tennessee send a message to on behalf of? Now, I don't think they did this as a larger strategically placed point of some philosophical way of going about business in today's day and age of NIL. But it certainly seems like a lot of coaches, rank and file across the board, are if you're going to hold out, you're gone. We will move on without you. Did Tennessee make a decision that has the ripple effect across college football that has let all the players know essentially if you take this route, you will be gone?
So to your point, unintended consequence. I don't think it was intended.
Yeah.
But you better believe every coach, administrator, every school feels like they have a little bit, they're emboldened right now because of this. And what's fascinating is Nico as a thing, as a word, as a name, is going to be tied to so much of this era's progress or lack thereof. And he was the first one that set the market in a sort of contractual way with the 4-year, $8 million deal. He changed the conversation and the way we looked at this particular situation before anyone else in a bigger way than anybody else. Desperate fan base, got a taste of good play with Hendon Hooker, desperate to go get somebody next, overpaid for a guy, Maybe he's going to be worth it, maybe not. We'll see, but that's where we're at. Then he was tied directly to the state's attorney general, Jonathan Skrmetti, going out and changing the entire sport by getting an injunction on the NCAA that now allows collectives all across the country to negotiate with high school recruits. So two things he's already changed. And now he's the first high-profile, quote-unquote, NFL-style holdout that was asking for money. Because here's the other thing. As I said earlier, this is happening all over the place. These holdouts are happening all over the place. You don't hear about them because, A, they get resolved quickly, and you're either not worth the money and you go to the portal or you go somewhere else, and then we don't find out about the offer or the holdout because it's not good for anybody. Or two, you just got the raise you wanted, and no one ever finds out about the negotiation in the first place. Because that's exactly what's happening. Like, again, as I said, I'm willing to bet you every playoff team had someone asking for more money before the playoff game last year going into the playoff. And it's going to happen again.
I mean, Mike Gundy talked about midseason guys asking for renegotiations.
Yes.
That was at Oklahoma State, and they sucked.
There is a player, very high-profile player, who won a national championship, who was asking for pay raises in the middle of the game 2 years ago before transferring. Like, there are more. It happens so much more than you think. Some of them are totally deserving, right? Like, hey, I'm getting this. I deserve X. I'm really good. That player should get more. That's the market we've created. That's the system we've created, this free-for-all where you can just ask for money anytime you want because we have no bargaining, we have no contracts, we have no, anything, no structure. That's part of where we're at. There's also ones who have been asking for this stuff who I've heard of that are like third-string defensive linemen who have no starts. Who are asking for more money, and it's like the answer is no.
Yeah, really?
Like the answer is no.
Have you looked in the mirror?
But again, publicly, you better believe exactly what Rhett Lashley's saying at SMU. Publicly, their university schools coaches, they feel emboldened to go out there, put their foot down, and say, no. Look what Tennessee did. We're holding our ground. And my hope is that Tennessee did it because they didn't think he was good enough, and they believe in the players they have. Not out of some personal, like, I'm upset that he did this to us on Friday, so, screw you, I'm going home, like that kind of thing.
Screw you guys, I'm going home. Maybe he did that. We'll see where he ends up. Braden Gall, 440 Sports Podcast Network, ESPN Radio, Athlon Sports. Appreciate the time, brother, and the update and the information, as this will be fascinating to follow when the transfer portal opens up, and we'll see where he ends up and what school is willing to pay and what they're willing to pay to bring him in. And ultimately, we'll look back and see if this was a good decision, bad decision, and what Tennessee did as well. So, and if there are other ripple effects and unintended consequences from this that happen moving forward. So, it's pretty fascinating. So,
yeah, I mean, that's the fascinating part. That's another fascinating part of this. It's like you can't transfer to the SEC,
right?
And who else has $3 million to spend on a quarterback right now?
Laying around,
like USC. Yeah. Like, who's the team here, especially West Coast, if he's going to go back home? Arizona State has a starting quarterback. BYU has a starting quarterback. Like, Utah has a starting. Like, who has a starting quarterback, doesn't have a starting quarterback, and has enough money to spend on this kind of player? Yeah. Like, to me, it's like USC, UCLA, and that's it. Oregon's not going to go get this guy. They got two guys already. Like, who's going to go pay for this? That's where I don't know.
And I think you burned the bridge with UCLA with Manning Iamaleava, and that
possible.
Switch.
Braden, I was going to say, Mizzou alum here, I got to give you the only time I'm ever going to say this, only time, pains me, it hurts, but congratulations to Heupel and Tennessee for doing the right thing here. I got to give my cap, give credit where credit's due.
Unless he turns out to be a Heisman Trophy winning.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Next year, in which case, that was a big dum-dum.
No, it's the process.
Tennessee's 6-6, and Iamaleava's holding up the Heisman Trophy, thanking his dad for all the guidance in his life.
I just think like Tennessee fans, and this is not a Tennessee thing. It's unique. It's not unique to them. It's everybody. Why can't find the money to pay our guy? He's a great player. Pay him as much as he needs. It's not my money. Pay him. Let's go. Let's go win championships. Let's ride. Oh, he wants more money. Oh, I'm so glad they stepped up and didn't pay him. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, you are not wrong about that. It is funny, the amount of people that hate upper management at their job that constantly side with the teams when it comes to players and teams in sports. It is an odd dynamic there. Braden Gull, 440 Sports Podcast Network, ESPN Radio, Athlon Sports. Braden, you're the man as always. Appreciate it, brother. Catch up down the road, man.
Yep, be good, boys.
Absolutely. There's Braden Gall. Great stuff from him. They're in Nashville covering the Volunteers as well. And this story that developed Thursday night on into Friday, and then the transfer portal that he'll put his name in there on Wednesday for the spring transfer portal. And again, as we said, when it comes to the SEC, he cannot transfer to an SEC school because he has put his name in the transfer portal after February 1st, which means you have to sit out a year if you go SEC to SEC.
Credit to me for giving Tennessee fans credit. That's all I got to say. Credit to me for giving credit where it's due. That's all. I mean, that's pretty big of me.
Well, Tennessee wasn't willing to pay Nico on credit, hoping that that would be repaid in the future. They just simply moved on. Sorry, we're cash strapped. We don't have it. We're not paying it. And to Braden's point, is this a principal move where, based on principle, we're not doing this? Or is this we're not doing it because we don't think you're worth that money and we're not going to be pushed around here? Whereas if that was Arch Manning saying, hey, I'd like to go to 4, I'm like, hey, can we find 1.6 somewhere? So check the couch cushions of the billionaire guy. See if he's got 1.6 to keep Arch Manning here. Like, again, Carson Beck got 3.9 from Miami. If Carson Beck got 3.9, then Nico is not worth 4.
You know how we find pennies and quarters in our
not anymore. I mean, nobody uses cash.
Maybe a dollar bill. I
Yeah.
keep some every once in a while. Do you think billionaires actually just find like hundreds, just a plethora of hundreds in their
Yes.
couch cushions?
Yes, I think so. I think just randomly. I think when they get really, really cold and they don't have wood, they just burn the
Like you would check
money
you would check your
warmth.
you would check your jean pockets. And you're like, oh, a 5, nice. Found a $5. They're like, oh wow, I found $5.
I didn't realize
$1,000, $5,000.
I didn't realize I put 10 $100 bills in this part of my wallet. That's fine. Here's a tip for you. Thank you for going and grabbing my car there, valet. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. There's a risk you run really in anything if you're going to demand a certain dollar amount, because you need to know what you're worth, which is what somebody is willing to pay you, and you need to know what your leverage is. And apparently, the leverage there at Tennessee was not what Nico thought. That Tennessee did not value him to a degree that they were willing to increase his deal, whether that was principle or we just don't think you're good enough for that. Or we don't want to deal with somebody that we know has already reached out to other teams before the playoff game.
Yeah.
And other players on Tennessee that were trying to renegotiate before the playoff games, which I think is going to have to be included in some of these NIL deals now. That playoffs included, that no because the theory behind it, and this is what's come out, since yesterday. Josh Payton, his sports radio show, and he covers college football. He reported that a number of players around college football were renegotiating or attempting a renegotiation of their NIL deal before the playoffs, because then they had the leverage. Their argument was, well, no, my NIL deal was for 12 games. We're now going to go play more games in the playoffs here, which NFL players get more in the playoffs. They get a playoff check. It's not what they get during the regular season, but they get a little extra money. But guess what? That's not part of your deal. If you wanted that, then put that in the deal. And nothing is collectively bargained here, so it can't be an overall you get extra money on top of whatever your NIL deal might be or whatever you're getting paid from the school. You get a percentage of that if you play in the playoffs or how many games you play in the playoffs. But it is a matter of trying to maximize your leverage to maximize how much you're worth or how much somebody is willing to pay you based on inflicting what could be the most harm or the most pain to that particular program. But man, that is also potentially killing a relationship with the coaches, with other players on the team if they're not holding out and getting more money. And it's like, hold on, this guy's you're not showing, you're dogging it at practice. We're getting ready to play in the playoffs because you want more. You want 1.5 million and you're making 1.2 and I'm on scholarship, and that's really it. Like, you got that aspect of it too. And I do wonder what the players at Tennessee felt with Nico not showing up, because what's coming out, some of the reporting is a lot of the players are like, well, bleep him, good riddance then. Good riddance, bleep him.
Yeah.
I mean, Hunter Dickinson gave us kind of a little look inside just a smaller version of this, really, that wasn't this kind of ilk, but they had one article or one person had said that they were making a certain amount of money, and immediately the entire bus, that's the conversation.
Yeah.
Who's making that? Who's doing that? And
how are we spending $5 million here?
And none of them are willing to say, oh, that was me. Or,
not me.
Exactly.
There's no way we couldn't spend $5 million on this team because we're on the bus and we asked everybody who's getting $5 million, and people didn't know. Like, there's no way we would spend that money because people said they weren't getting that money. So
and they're
clearly
not wanting to say because they know immediately that puts them at a certain level, and then it kind of excludes them from the rest of the team.
Yeah, especially if you're not good, especially if the report is out there that Hunter Dickinson took less money to then have that money available for A.J. Storr. Well, that's a pretty decent way to have a internal conflict with A.J. Storr sucking, and I gave up more money for you to be there, and you aren't very good, and when you're out on the court, you don't really look like you're working that hard.
Well, I just think if you are a teammate who was not making a lot of money or just, again, on scholarship at Tennessee, and then you hear that rumblings before a playoff game, the most important, impactful game of your life to that point, that's just, it's disheartening to hear. Again, that was kind of what some people love about college versus the NFL is the pride. It's the for school, for state, for location.
But really for the coach. I mean, if we're being honest, like, kids typically choose the school unless you grew up there like Brady Cook.
No,
didn't matter who was going to be the coach at
and some don't care and some don't matter. But I think there was something to that for alumni, or if you're a Kansas Jayhawk basketball fan, even if you didn't go to the school, if you're from the area and you've grown up for 40 years, you've been a diehard fan. And all of a sudden, this new wave of kids, when Paul Pierce wasn't getting paid, or at least legally, or if he was not, you know what I'm saying? Like,
how about that, Dylan?
allegedly.
How about that? Just throwing that out there.
I know. I'm just saying, like historic players is what I'm saying, and then you're having a guy who is like Peyton Manning again. Allegedly not getting paid. Was he getting? Who knows at Tennessee? But you're having this guy who's done hardly anything for your organization try and basically hold them hostage. Like that is just a frustration. I get it's a new era. I get it's new. I'm not saying you don't pay the players, but also you signed the contract. Once you sign, that's what it is. You're there. If you wanted to hold out for more money and then go to Western Michigan, you could have done that. But you chose to play this organization. Like, I guess that's my frustration where it lies, because this was always my concern with NIL. You got to pay the players. I'm for that. I get it, but this is just
this is our concern, dude.
This is our concern,
but
dude.
It's also so many years running to where the schools were fighting against it. The NCAA was spending millions of dollars to fight against it, and the coaches were fighting against it while they were cashing, and their salaries were exponentially raising year after year after year after year. Well, we don't have money to pay the kids. You're paying that coach $10 million. What do you mean you don't have money to pay the kids? You were paying them $4, now you're paying them $10.
And they can walk away from it at any point to go get another paycheck that's bigger. And all the kids that signed up for that coach and wanted to be a part of that program, either back in the day you had to go and transfer but sit out a year.
Yeah, but it's also like, we hear, well, okay, if the players want the NIL and they can leave, well, then, then they should be able to be fired then too. Well, Nico got fired on Friday. He didn't show up for work, so they fired him.
And that's what I was saying is the protection of the collective bargaining agreement for the players in the NFL and part of these holdouts is that they can, Jamar Chase and Jonathan Taylor is a great example, can show up to a practice, fold their arms across, and then just put a hood up and do nothing, say nothing.
Yeah, I'm
be
holding
a malcontent,
in. I'm holding in.
But at the end of the day, there's a contract, and that team also has to honor it just the same as the player.
And that player has a little more leverage because that contract, like for Jamar, like you're not cutting him one. You're not just going to get him out.
And if you're going to get anything out of it, you have to trade it now.
You have to trade him, and then there's probably a pretty big dead cap hit. Like the Chiefs weren't just going to release Chris Jones when he was holding out and missed week 1. It wasn't going to be, well, you release him. Well, ultimately, they got a deal done for Chris Jones just to simply get back the money that he was holding out for anyway, or that he lost while he was holding out anyway. He just got that money back. And with the college aspect now of the NIL, with coaches, it's like, well, yeah, but if a coach leaves, he's got to pay the buyout to that school to leave. Okay, that's fine. But if he gets fired, he also gets a buyout. So it's like, well, these players in their contracts, they should be able to, they should have to pay the school if they leave in the transfer portal from the NIL. Okay, well, if you cut him or move on or tell him to transfer somewhere else, because that's the what is it, the quiet quitting or the silent quitting, whatever they're calling it these days. That's the silent firing. The quiet firing of maybe you should transfer somewhere else.
It's not quiet. It's, hey, you have a 5 a.m. weights session and then a 6 a.m. stair session at the stadium every morning until if you want to transfer, you can transfer.
You can transfer, but it is going to be you specifically.
Yeah, just you.
I'm not saying that you need to go. I'm just saying that there probably isn't a spot for you anymore. You can stay, but there's not a spot for you. Well, I guess I'm in the transfer portal. Oh, this kid's entering the transfer portal. What, does he not want to compete? Does he not want to work for that spot? Well, he might have been told to transfer. That happens all the time.
Kyle McCord.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Like, hey, you probably need to go somewhere else because we're going to bring in, oh, you don't want to fight for it? No, the coach literally said, you can't get the job. You're not going to get the job. Probably a good idea for you to leave. Well, he should have to pay money if he leaves. Well, no, he just got fired. So then he should get a buyout then, right? Because coaches get a buyout because it's a contract. But there is no contract here that's legally binding or anything. It's like, well, every contract should be legally binding. Yeah, sure.
And by the way,
let's find the loopholes in every single contract that you can find, especially in this day and age with NIL, with the beginning of trying to figure this whole thing out. Like the NIL deal with Nico doesn't even say that if he leaves Tennessee, he doesn't get money anymore. There's nothing in the contract that says that. But it does say that if he does not hold up to a character or what it means to be a volunteer, then they can cancel the contract. Okay, he skipped spring practice and skipped the game. Boom, we've canceled your NIL. We don't have to pay you while you transfer somewhere else. Easy, right? But there isn't something specifically in there that says you've transferred. we don't have to pay you any money. Or we want this money back. Or specifically written, there is no renegotiation. This is the life of your contract, and any renegotiation opens up to an immediate contract breach, and we have the opportunity to not pay you anything. I think we've seen we saw a player get fired on Friday for overplaying his hand, or the people around the player, the Katz brothers, overplaying their hand in what they were going to get. But the risk you run in this, too, is what happened at Auburn. Now, Jackson Arnold was not holding out. Jackson Arnold had a thigh injury, so he missed the A game or spring game at Auburn. So the number 6 quarterback in the country, freshman Deuce Knight, that got $1 million in NIL to go to Auburn, goes and just is the star of the A game. And now people are going, should Jackson Arnold be the quarterback or Deuce Knight? Like, hey, you're pumped. You got Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. You paid him. You know, his valuation was like $1.8 million in the NIL market. What did Auburn pay for him? I don't know. But they paid a pretty decent amount. Oh, and they got this number 6 quarterback in the country. They paid him $1 million. Jackson Arnold hurts his thigh, misses the game. That guy looks amazing. Well, time to move. Let's go to that guy. You know, that you open up the door for that too. You open up the door for them to look at somebody else to give them an opportunity, and now you're Wally Pipp. And somebody else comes in and says, well, actually, I'm going to take this job from you. And again, it wasn't Jackson Arnold holding out. It was Jackson Arnold dealing with a thigh injury that the team said, not worth it for him to go out and play. Just rest, and we're good. We got it'll be good for Deuce Knight to get some experience. Okay. Is it good for Jackson Arnold that Deuce Knight looked like that? Because you don't get to watch practice in fall. Next time we're going to see Auburn is in a game. And so all you know and all you have right now for fans of Deuce Knight is what you saw at the A game. So Jackson Arnold struggles at the beginning of the year next year. In your mind, Deuce Knight is the guy that he looked like at the spring game.
That's why there's no more spring games. Because the biggest loser of all of that is Auburn. Because either you overpaid for someone you're not going to use, or you're going to stick with that guy and everyone's going to come calling trying to get the highest bidder for Deuce.
For Deuce, yeah. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue More Zone next. We will play some, well, not play. It'll be Learn Funniest Best coming up in
We'll play it.
the 1 o'clock. We'll play it. Let's play Learn Funniest Best. Okay, we won't.
We can all play together.
Let's do it, man. Let's play. Let's have a little fun, man. There's nothing wrong with a little play. You know, get out there. Play 60 like the NFL was saying, an hour a day. Get your kids out there to play some ball, man.
Dylan, you want to play with us?
Play 60. Let's play. Yep.
I see what he's trying to do.
Play 240.
but-
We play
Yeah,
240.
we can play, you know,
What?
You play
to win.
the game. You don't play to just play.
It's just that simple.
We play 240 around here. You know, we don't play 60. We play 240. All right. We do
Grinders.
have another 60 left, though, whether you like it or not. Sorry, man. You've been through 180, but you got some more left there, Sterling. I know you're ready to check out.
Today's flown by, actually.
Has it?
I think so.
I think so as well. A lot of stuff to talk about. We
I'm
talked
shocked
a lot about.
it's already 1 o'clock.
I know. We talked about Rory in the first hour winning the Masters and the Career Grand Slam and getting the green garment placed on his shoulders, as he said.
It's because I missed you, actually. You were
Is that
gone
right?
Friday.
That was-
Yeah, who would have thought that I am the grinder of the group? No Mick.
Yeah.
No Dylan on a Friday.
Yeah, interesting. 1 week after missing
Twas
Thursday and
I.
Friday. Literally 1 week after. Maybe that's what you're saying, is that if somebody was going to be gone, it would be you.
Yeah, that was the shocking
I see
part.
what you're
was,
saying. Yeah, that makes sense.
The odds
That
of
tracks.
us three and me being the only one here was plus 1,100.
Yeah, it was a heavy underdog. Heavy underdog.
It was the Justin Rose of
yeah, right.
of the
yeah,
show,
but it damn near happened.
It damn near happened.
Right, but I'm glad that. By the way, you had some pretty good value around 2 o'clock, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock at DraftKings for
On Thursday?
no Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Sunday for no, it's about 4 o'clock, I guess. About 4 o'clock when you had good value, because winner without Rory at DraftKings, Justin Rose was like plus 800, and he was only a shot back at that time.
Yeah,
like that was some. Oberg was like plus 450. Like he wasn't even the one. Like Rose was like plus some pretty good value on some of those guys. Maybe you took it, maybe you didn't. I don't know. Sterling?
Yes.
Which was more on their side of the scale for Rory in the back nine of a shot? 13's approach into Rays Creek, terrible, versus on 15, the shot underneath the tree and then having it hook back to the left, having the loft, and then putting it within 5 feet for a birdie on 15, or for an eagle opportunity on 15. Which on their side, was that a greater shot, or was the approach that seemed like a shot he's done a million times that he would never put it in Rays Creek on hole 13, that just and left that thing short and to the right?
I think for me, the most impressive shot was actually the one earlier on when he went over the trees and he missed the putt.
What hole was that?
I forgot what hole that was. That was fairly early. It was 6, 7, maybe.
Yeah,
I can't remember. 10. I don't remember.
5 through 8 he parred. So it was a hole that he parred.
It was a hole that he parred. I can't remember. I was on my phone with my dad. I can't remember.
He didn't have many holes that he parred. So looking at his scorecard here, 2 and then 5 through 8, 12 and 16. So 12 and 16.
It wasn't 16.
So 2, 12, and 16 were the only holes, and 12 is a par 3.
So then it would have been 8.
Yeah. So it had to be probably a par. So it was either 5 or 7 because it had to be a par 4.
It was a par 4.
Yeah, so it was 5 or 7.
It doesn't matter. One of those.
We figured it out. It was either hole 5 or hole 7. We got it.
I just know I was on the phone with my dad and I saw that shot and I was mind blown. That shot to me was the most impressive shot he actually hit all week long. But to me, I think you got to say the most. It was more disappointing versus great was the one in Rays Creek, because in that situation there's only one thing you can't do. You have a wedge in your hand and it is a 2-stroke swing.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it is. You saved one shot by the greatness of the birdie and the slinging 7-iron to whatever it was on 15, but
he dropped 4 strokes from 11 to 14. In 4 holes he dropped 4. Bogeying 11, double bogeying 13, and then bogeying 14. And it was like, how's he going to turn this around? Oh, by birdieing 15 and 17.
The adversity he put on himself.
Yeah.
I love the meme of when it's always the guy with the guy, and there's a guy behind the guy, then a guy behind the guy, then a guy up top with a pew, and a guy on the moon going, it's always been this.
And it's the same guy?
But for this one, it goes, Rory. No, it's Rory. It's Rory. Because normally it's like 5 different things, 5 different guys. I just thought it was very funny because Rory does it to himself. He is a phenomenal player who puts himself in adverse situations, times when the smart play should be the easy play, or the easy play is the smart play, and he decides that he's going to just not commit to a 100-yard wedge and put it in Rays Creek. I mean, it just, even on 18, like, how do you not committing and then throwing that wedge out to the right? I was glad to see he had the nearly exact same shot against Justin Rose, and he committed to it. Look what happened when he committed to that wedge. He put it to 2 feet. I felt a little bad for Justin Rose because his iron on the playoff hole, I don't know how it didn't stick.
Yeah.
I don't know how that it didn't get a little. That thing was a tastily hit shot. Should have stopped about 2 feet. Basically, where Rory's was, I thought they're going to have both be within 2 feet, 3 feet, and somehow Rose's released and didn't come back. I felt a little bad for him because you couldn't hit a better shot in that situation.
And what's crazy about it, too, is that, Rory had essentially, the story was that he gave the tournament away when you're going into the playoff, because he then bogeys 18, hitting it into the sand. So you had 13 and 18 where just inexplicable shots with your wedge that just put it on the green. If you put it on the green and not in the sand, you win.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do is just put it on there. And I know it's Augusta, and it seems easy to say, but it's Rory, and from that far out, all you got to do is put it on the green, and you can 2-putt for the green jacket. Instead, you put it in the sand. You give yourself a great opportunity for an up and down from the sand. That's fine. But you then get in the first playoff hole, and on the approach, Justin Rose does that.
Yeah,
and puts it there, and now it's your turn. If you 2-putt and he makes that, and he just buried a putt on 18 to essentially what ended up being force the playoff, because then Rory had to par 18 because of that to get to 11 under for Justin Rose. And so, like, you've got to then step up and have at least as good of a shot. And he just has an absolute brilliant shot within, like, 4 feet.
I know it's a lot easier said than done because
everything with the Masters is easier said than done.
It's just so easy to be like, well, these guys are professionals. I mean, Rory talked about how the double almost settled him down on hole one because just the nerves and then imagine, 17 and 18 and you're seeing all those people and the majority are rooting for you. And I just can't imagine the pressure on those swings going through your head. And that's why even the putts, like I understand. That's why actually the putt on 18 the first time around for Rory, I don't think was a pull as much as he saw Bryson's line, and Bryson's putt did something, I think, different than everyone thought it was going to do, and Rory believed that line. And it was the wrong line. I think he did kind of pull it actually in the playoff, but it didn't matter because it was so short. But it doesn't matter. I just think there was so much pressure on Rory. He knows and knew what it meant for him to win this, put him in the pantheon of golf greats, and with still so much career left at 35. And again, you're right. It takes the monkey off the back once this culminated in victory. At this point, you're like, will those, I don't want to say yips, but will those struggles late in rounds dissipate because he no longer has that pressure on his shoulders? There might be an argument that now he can play freer and looser because what do you have to lose? You now have completed the Grand Slam, some that only, I believe, 6 golfers in the history has ever done.
Let's hear from Rory post-match. This is about a minute long and a cut-up of a number of his answers in the while wearing the green jacket there in front of the press, not down in the cabin, but in front of the press. And here's Rory, just different answers to some of the questions.
What are we all going to talk about next year? Look, it's a dream come true. I've dreamt about that moment for as long as I can remember. There were points in my career where I didn't know if I would have this nice garment over my shoulders, but I didn't make it easy today. I certainly didn't make it easy. I was nervous. It was one of the toughest days I've ever had on the golf course. In a funny way, I feel like the double bogey at the first sort of settled my nerves. The first thing that popped into my head was John Rahm a couple of years ago making double and going on to win. I don't know if any Masters champions had 4 doubles during the week, but maybe I'm the first. But yeah, just a complete roller coaster of emotions today. And honestly, what came out of me on the last green there in the playoff was at least 11 years, if not 14 years of pent-up emotion.
Roller coaster of a day, one of the most difficult rounds he's ever played because of everything that was leading into that. He was never going to have a better opportunity to win the green jacket than when he came off the green at 10 after birdieing, sitting at 14 under, and Justin Rose was in second at 9. You had a 5-stroke lead with 8 holes to play. 5 strokes with 8 holes to play.
And at that point,
and Justin Rose only had 6 holes to play.
I think at that point, the only guy you thought might be able to catch was maybe Oberg, who was going to try and make a little bit of a run. Mm-hmm. And then he had, again, the ups and downs late. 17 was huge because I think 17 is such an underrated hard hole. You got to give Bryson so much credit because as bad as the lows were, and the lows were horrendous for Rory, some of the decision making, ball striking, putts, the wedges. More than anything, it was the wedges that really let down Rory. As bad as the lows were, the highs were just so damn high. And again, I just keep getting. I was actually laughing a little bit because yesterday morning I played golf. I know no one cares. I'm not a great golfer. I've never shot a.
Do you want to tell me about your dreams next?
I at least.
Yes, you're lying to me.
I at least prefaced it.
I preface it.
I've never shot a 79 at Brookridge. Going into 18, I had to birdie to shoot an 89, or to shoot a 79. I was so nervous. I snap hooked my tee shot. I was okay. I bogeyed. I shot an 81.
Idiot.
But
God,
the point remains that had nothing on the line. There's nothing going on here.
So unclutch, dude.
I had a birdie. In fairness, I had to try
unclutch though.
Try to really get that ass behind it, But
it'd be one thing if like, oh, okay, I got a 20-foot putt for birdie and I parred it. Oh well, you snap hooked your drive.
Yeah,
That's so unclutch, man.
Point remains though, like that meant nothing. And for Rory, with all the pressure of at least 11 years, and he mentioned 11 or 14, trying to complete the Grand Slam. I just can't even imagine what those shots, after he hit not only one phenomenal drive on 18, but being able to do it again. Because that 18 tee shot on Holly is just absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, that for a guy who normally hits a draw, and you almost have to hit a fade for him for how long he is, or else you end up in that bunker. I mean, again, that was impressive.
Well, Jacob Cruz can hit a fade. I mean, that guy will fade away constantly. I don't know if he'll hit it, but he will attempt the fade. That's for sure. So you need to be clutch like I am, where, hole 13 at Valhalla, the three-quarter island green, make a 6-foot putt for birdie on that
nice.
hole.
What did you do the other 17 holes?
I was terrible, the other 17 holes, but I will always have that birdie on 13.
That's awesome.
I will always have that birdie. And you don't even need to know how that thing was within 6 feet. Nobody needs to know that. There's no reason to tell that story at all.
Just blade it.
Because on the scorecard, it's a 3, right?
It's a 2, actually. Well, again,
no, it's a par 4.
It's a par 4, okay.
It's par 4. So you drive down the fairway, and then it's a dog leg straight left with the creek surrounding it, and then you got to take the bridge over to get on the green.
You hit the bridge, didn't you?
And behind it is a bunch of rock. It's like a rock wall or big hill. I'm not saying that it had like caromed off anything. I'm just saying that sometimes you have to play it off the bridge.
That's course knowledge.
Sometimes you need to play it off the bridge where you hear clunk, 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 and then somehow it bounces all the way back within 6 feet of the cup.
That's a member's bounce, Jason.
But you still had to make the putt.
Look
I
at
still
you.
had to make the 6-foot putt.
That's clutch.
Because they were like, you know what, pick it up, man. I'm like, no way.
Oh, you never pick up birdie putt. You got.
No, I was like, I am going to finish this. If I miss it, I miss it. I don't care. But I am going to putt this thing out, and my hands were shaking.
Yeah.
And it was like that thing probably that. It was as close as it gets to the right side of the cup, and just sort of like barely fell in as it was going by, one of those sort of around it, one of those toilet bowl things. And I'm like, you know what? It's a 3. Mark it 3. Mark it 3, dude.
Mark it 3, dude.
Mark it 3, dude.
Over the line.
Yeah. I don't care that I shot, 107 on the other 17 holes for a 110. That doesn't matter. That does not matter. It was a 3 that day on that one, and I've got the scorecard. Not to prove it, because anybody can write anything down on a scorecard. But, dude,
did you sign it? It's a gentleman's game.
I signed the wrong scorecard, and I got disqualified.
112,
yeah, so that's weird. I signed a scorecard to where I got a 10, but they said just write it down snowman. So I did, and they were like, dude, you got a 10 on that hole. You signed it with an 8. You're disqualified.
Serious question, though. Do you think that now that this monkey is off Rory's back, that he is able to, again, I'm not saying what Tiger Woods did or Jack Nicklaus or Gary Player, but can he start going on? Is this going to open up a new run that he had earlier on in his career where it felt like he was almost unstoppable?
Yeah, he wins 4 in a matter of 3-4 years. Rory does. Wins his first 4 majors from 2011 to 2014. Wins 4 of them in that stretch, and then nothing until 2025. And all it was about, especially the Masters. Like, it was entering the Masters. Every other major didn't really matter at that point. Like, certainly for legacy, you want to win majors.
Yeah.
But as far as like career Grand Slams, you were that close. You're 24, 25 years old with 3 of the 4, and you have 4 majors. All you need is a green jacket. And the most prestigious of the majors. All you need is the green jacket, and it's a career Grand Slam. And boy, how many tournaments are you going to enter? He's going to win. He's going to win one. Okay, here's the 2012 Masters. Here's an opportunity. Nope. 13 no, 14 no, 15 no, on and on and on until 11 tries, 11 years later, he wins it. One of the questions I would have moving forward is like, all right, he's got 5 now, so how many majors does he end up with? If this is a monkey off his back, does he have another green jacket in his career? Does he have? I think he's got at least 1 more major in his career. I would put the over/under at 6.5, and I might
go over.
I might lean under.
I'm going over. I think that he gets,
because he's still 35 years old.
He's 35. I think he gets at least 2 more majors.
Yeah,
bordering on 3. I just think that.
So would you set it at 7.5 to maybe get to 8?
I think 6.5 is the number. I think 7.5 is you'd get juice. I'd go 8 for the plus 210 or whatever it would be. I guess to me, I think this does open up some freedom in Rory's game, which I think could help him specifically. He's still probably the best driver of the ball on tour. He's always around. He's going to play in all these tournaments. He's 35, and 35 is the age. You got to do it soon. I think 40 is about the age where once you hit 40, a lot of times you're kind of like, in golf at least, where you go, you might have one or two here and there, but the consistency. Phil was kind of the outlier. But, I mean, look at guys like Dustin Johnson. I mean, even when he hit like 35, 36, it was downhill. Scheffler started off a little older than most. He went through the Korn Ferry Tour. He's already 28. But when you're looking at the tour right now with the way that it's been broken up with the Live Tour and everything, the Live guys outside of Bryson really don't do great. No, Patrick Reed ended up solid with the dunk on 16, the Eagle.
Yeah.
No, not 16. 17.
Patrick, yeah, it was 17 that he holed out when he was like, did it go in?
Yeah, won him a lot of money with that.
Did it go in?
Thank you, Oberg, and thank you to that ball going in. Patrick Reed won himself a ton of money. But yeah, I think with the LIV, it opens it up for Rory and Scotty. But I think it's kind of a 1-2, and you're always gonna have Bryson in the mix. But I think Rory gets 3 more. I'll say 3 more majors.
Well, Phil Mickelson couldn't win one. Couldn't win a major, couldn't win a major, couldn't win a major. Then at 04, he wins the Masters. And it's like, all right, so he finally won one. Then the next year, he wins the PGA. Then the year after that, he wins the Masters again. So, like, he couldn't win one, and then he won 3 in 3 years. And then he won another Masters in 2010 with that crazy, shot from the pine straw that was on hole 10 or
it's
whatever.
Like John
it was.
Elway. Like couldn't win the Super Bowl, getting blown out in every Super Bowl, and then he goes back to back and retires.
But from Rory's standpoint, like Phil couldn't win one, then he won one, and then he started winning more. And obviously he's got that long break from 2013 to 2021 when he finally won another PGA in 2021 for his 6th major. But it was like he couldn't win one, finishing second, can't get it done. Okay, he's now won 3 in 3 years and 4 in 6 years.
Well, because the pressure's off.
That's what I'm meaning for Rory.
And Rory had it early on, and you go in stretches because, I mean, you also had in that stretch, Brooks Koepka had 5? 5?
4 or 5.
In that crazy stretch, right? You go on these runs where it feels like your swing is there and everything's there, and Bryson's been tinkering with a whole bunch of stuff. And, yeah, man, I guess right now – It's a Scotty and Rory are going to be the 2 guys that you're going to look out for. Scotty's always going to be there, but I think I would give. I'm probably way too optimistic here, but I think I'd give Rory 3 more majors to end with 8 overall for his career.
I just think the reason I'm going with 1 is it's like he doesn't enter the U.S. or the Open or the PGA with the pressure of you got to win this for the career Grand Slam, and he still hasn't won those.
Sure.
Close with the U.S. Open, he and DeChambeau, but he hasn't won those. The Masters have always been that's the one with the pressure. Career Grand Slam. What did it mean?
Everyone's watching. Like, it's the one where anyone, like, I am not I'll tune in the other majors on Sundays, but I am watching the entirety of the Masters.
Right. And Rory joked about what are we going to talk about next year? Because for 11 years, that's what we've talked about. So the monkey's off his back at Augusta, but he didn't have the added pressure of the U.S. and the Open and, PGA, because he had already won those. I mean, he'd already won 2 PGA championships, and he's played in all of those. So I'll go under, but there's not a part of me that would be surprised if he wins 3 more because of what this could be for him, for freeing him to just go and play golf, and maybe to not have blow-ups where I just double bogeyed and now everything continues to collapse. To be like, you know what? I had 2 double bogeys in the final round at the Masters, and I still won that tournament.
I guess for me right now, too, if you look at the official world golf rankings, I know the Live Tour makes things a little more difficult, but Scotty's won by a decent margin. Rory's 2, and then there's a pretty large drop-off before you get to – I mean, it's Scotty, it's Rory, and then a massive drop-off to number 3, which is Xander Schauffele, Morikawa, Oberg, Matsuyama, Russell Henley. I mean, it's just it's really 1 2. That's why I keep saying it. It's Scotty, it's Rory for the foreseeable future, right? Can someone else win one? 100%. But if you're asking me right now over the next probably 3 years, those two guys have the best chance.
Yeah, for Rory, he enters hole 15, tied at 10 under with Justin Rose, coming off a 4-hole stretch in which he was 4 over. And as we know, like, he had to play those final 4 holes 1 under. We know that now to force a playoff with Justin Rose. And he birdies 15 and birdies 17, ends up bogeying 18. But he goes 2 under the next 3 holes after 4 over a stretch of 4, and turns it around that quickly. That's not easy to do. That's not somebody that was just simply melting down and was going to continue to melt down, especially after, the shots that he had on 13 and then 14. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. Learn Funniest Best coming up next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Let's play a little Learn Funniest Best, or get into some Learn Funniest Best from the weekend, going around the room. What we learned from the weekend, funniest from the weekend, and the best from the weekend. What I learned this weekend is, I mean, if you're at Augusta, there aren't big like TVs everywhere out on the course to where you can watch what's going on, correct? You don't have your phone on you, right? Because people are watching the 18th and nobody has a phone in their hand, right? Which is one of the crazy throwback pictures of watching 18th and watching Rory make it. And then you see the celebration, and in the background, no phones. Whereas the background of other photos and finals, everybody's got a phone. They're videoing. This is my view of it. This is what I was right there.
The LeBron point record,
that's
where
exactly
the
right.
only guy, and it's so cool, it's Phil Knight, who's
Yeah.
seen probably everything, you know,
Yep.
just being a Michael Jordan guy. Like
everybody else got their phone out.
He's just chilling.
Yes. Thomas Bryant has his hand in the air, calling for the ball. Ball. Got him posted.
He did have him sealed.
Got him sealed right here. But given that information, I learned that apparently some people that were there didn't really care about the 18th hole drama. They show Justin Rose at the practice range, right?
Mm-hmm.
While Rory is walking up 18. There are people in the stands behind Justin Rose watching him on the practice range, watching him on the driving range while Rory is walking up 18. There's no TV out there. There are just fans that are sitting there watching. There's no TV out there. You don't have your phones. What are you doing?
Well, there's no room.
But go somewhere and buy a TV. Go somewhere. I don't know. I just don't go down a fairway. Walk somewhere. You're just hanging out like to watch Justin Rose hit practice shots.
See his reaction probably to see once he gets in.
I learned that there were actual people that sat there in the stands right behind the driving range to watch Justin Rose while Rory was walking up 18 to win the first green jacket for him.
That's tough.
That's what I learned.
You had to make a decision, too, because, again, it's so packed. Was 10 going to be, I think, the third playoff?
It was the second playoff. It was 18-10, 18-10. They would just go back and forth, right?
So, so people were heading to 10 to see if
That's a good point.
They were rooting
against that. They were rooting against that putt from Rory.
Well, they wanted Justin Rose probably to make his birdie putt. They probably wanted Rose to make that.
But once Rose missed it, then you're rooting against Rory.
You're rooting against Rory.
So you can then head to 10 to play that one. But yeah, I learned that there were actually people in the stands there. Crazy. What did you learn, Sterling?
Do you guys know how Masters caddies numbers get picked?
No.
You know how every single caddy has a number like 61, 32, 3. They all have numbers on their caddy jumpsuits. 1 is always the prior champion.
Okay.
No matter what. So Scotty, his caddy, would have had the number 1. Really lame, just based on who gets there and shows up and registers first.
Up.
Yeah, it goes to, I guess, 89, I think is what it is, whatever it is. I think it's 89. It's just based on whoever gets there. So if you see it, that's what it is.
You know what it should be based on? I think it should be based on last year's finish. So if you're walking around with a 78, your guy finished 78 last year. Or if it's the first time, you're in the 100s. So this guy's caddying for somebody that's a first timer or an amateur, kind of like a guy showing up at training camp and getting the number 87. Well, I don't think that 87 is really going to work with the Chiefs since there's already a number 87. You know what I mean? Or a guy showing up to the Royal, maybe a better one. Spring training, we're going to give him number 88. You're probably not going to be making the team if you're number 94 in spring training.
Okay, so it's normally up to around number 94. 94 is about the max, but 4 numbers have the most wins, tied at 3. If you're number 6, 12, 52, or 89, you have a good chance of early 6, middle 52, or late 89. Get a good chance of winning.
Is that right? That's the most. It's like the Derby gates.
6, 12, 52, and 89. So next year, guys.
You don't want to be in gate number 1 at the Derby. You're not going to win. You got to break the curse of gate number 1. You don't want to be caddy number 7, I guess.
So there you go.
All right. That makes sense. So yeah,
I learned that.
Now I know. I learned that too.
I thought it was going to be something cooler.
No, that's a good learn. Dylan, what'd you learn?
I learned this weekend that Brent Musburger is the recipient of the 2025 Pete Rozelle Radio and TV Award for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, finally. This is a well overdue award, and many believe that he was held out because of his willingness to kind of adopt the gambling lines and talk about lines before gambling was today.
Now Al Michaels in the bowl game.
That's the only reason why.
Yeah.
Not the AJ McCarron's girlfriend.
No, if that was it, then probably no way.
Yeah,
but so he's getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Dan Patrick has been working on this for years. He was able to get John Facenda, believe it or not, wasn't even in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Dan Patrick was able to raise enough awareness to get him in, and now he is 2 for 2 with Brent Musburger.
There you
being
go.
Inducted.
Nice. Let's go to the funniest from the weekend. Sterling, you lead us off here. What was the funniest for you?
Yeah, I actually texted you guys one night. I was having a few sips of bourbon, a few fingers.
Yeah, typically, I
and,
don't like the text that you send us when you've been drinking bourbon.
It was at 10:39 p.m.
The pictures mainly. You need to stop with those.
It was a picture I sent you guys. I was reading a book. It was a very good book.
I am going to report one more, and I'm reporting it to Chad, just so you know. But go ahead.
But
we talked about it off the air with Lebo.
Lincoln, when he was elected president, Abe Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, when he was sorry, we're close. When he was elected president, he had to get to Washington.
As one does.
As one does. Well, it's not like today. They didn't send him money. They didn't send him a carriage.
1700.
He had to pay for
1800 not like today.
1860.
1860s not like today.
You have to pay for your way to get there, and to pay for his way to get there for a train ticket, he had to have a yard sale, and they kept track of what he sold. He sold 6 chairs, a mattress, a wardrobe, 1 whatnot, 1 stand,
a whatnot,
9.5 yards of stair carpet, and 4 comforters, and that's how he paid to get to.
I think whatnot comes last, right? You do all that, and then you say and whatnot.
The yada yada.
Well, not here.
The yada yada.
It's 1 whatnot, which is in quotations a cabinet with open shelves. So that's what the 1 whatnot was. But I found that so hilarious that. Okay, you're the president. Come on down. Let's go to your inauguration and everything. Okay, well, how am I going to get there? I don't know. That's on you, Abe. You got to find a way. Can you pay for it? No. You got to sell your stuff. Got to have a yard sale. So the president had to have a yard sale to get there. And not only with that, they had trains, obviously.
Yeah.
Rode coach the majority of the way and had to stop.
Well, you didn't have enough money. You had a yard sale just to get the ticket.
But then you had to stop at every single stop sign. Like in Illinois, they stopped like 27 times to get to Indiana. I need to give a speech. Like, imagine if you're the president now and you're like, okay, like Trump or Biden or someone. Yeah, fly Southwest, pay your own ticket to get to your inauguration.
No Secret Service.
And no Secret Service. Although you do have reports that they're trying to kill you, by the way. You'll get a couple bodyguards. You'll get a couple, and they're apparently going to be like 5'6". But yeah, it's like Trump or Biden paying for their own flight on Southwest or Spirit Airlines, and you're going to have 3 layovers before you get there. The 1860s, what a wild time. I feel like the foresight was just not there. If I would have been born in the 1860s, I would have had a much better idea.
Is that right? You would have come up with the idea yourself? You wouldn't have just gone
give him
along
his
with the crowd?
own damn train.
You wouldn't have lasted to 20 if you were in the 1860s, dude.
You know what the average age was back then?
25.
I was going to say, what's the life expectancy? 42?
Seriously, do you want to know what it was?
Sure.
39.
Hey, ding, ding, ding.
Nice
39.4.
Ding, ding.
Well done.
Nice job. Well done.
God,
nice.
awesome.
All right. How about that?
It's a history show, boys.
Yeah.
We teach people
How much did
knowledge.
Washington have to pay to get there? Did he
I
just,
don't know.
He
He's
just
probably, you may have already been there.
Yeah, I guess that's probably right. Yeah.
Well, I learned that. I just thought it was hilarious
I
that,
like that.
Imagine a current president having to pay his own way and then just having layovers everywhere.
Even 1860 to get from Illinois to D.C. is taking you that long. They should have taken. I think it should have been horse and carriage.
Well, some was.
To get there.
It was
should have
dangerous.
been. It should have been.
People
that.
talked about it.
Yeah,
They didn't have the best health back then.
Really?
They all had some sort of minor aches and diseases that had weird names.
I learned from the Oregon Trail
Blue
that
Cross back then?
dysentery is going to kill you. Well, it was the red tape back then. That's the problem. They kept denying all the claims. It's like snake bite. I don't know that we can help you on that one. Sorry. It's a broken wheel. Sorry. It's not covered. It's not covered. It's a broken wheel. Like the whole thing is covered. You gave me a 2-year warranty on this. Broken wheel. Didn't we say that you could not be on the Oregon Trail?
That's not part of the hazard package. So.
How long does it take to get an actual human on the phone here? I mean, come on.
It's all AI.
Ridiculous. Dylan? Funniest from the weekend?
The funniest for me, if anyone saw the action figure AI things that were going around all weekend, the Chiefs, we have made it officially, Chiefs fans. The Cowboys nation is down so bad that the bandwagon team, as per Michael Fabiano's Twitter account, is now the Chiefs. So the Chiefs bandwagon fan action figure comes with Chiefs jersey, Lakers jersey, and Yankees cap instead of Cowboys jersey. So
love it.
We have made it as Chiefs fans. We are officially the dark side.
I thought for sure it was going to be, because you have the doll, but then they have the accessories in the box too. I thought for sure it was going to be a referee's
for sure.
shirt.
I agree. I'm surprised they missed that.
Thought for sure it was going to be that. My funniest from the weekend came on Friday night. And it's from 10-Man Jones, Tennessee fan, and he tweeted out, "I watched Nico all year. It doesn't surprise me it's taken him forever to make an inevitably bad decision." I thought that was pretty good.
Very good.
Not surprising. This guy sat there and waited and then made a bad throw. Nice job. All right, Best, we start with you, Dylan. Best from the weekend.
Best for me, I think it's awesome that Poppy McElroy made that putt, and it's married with Rory getting the monkey off his back and winning the Masters for the first time in his career, so that as she grows up and as he gets older, they'll always have that as a family, that moment and him achieving basically what he's been trying to get for years were all in the same weekend. So that's the best for me.
Best part was she can also be like, "Hey, Dad, you remember how you missed that 3-footer?" I drained
so many
that
great
30-footer.
memories from this one thing for them. So I thought that was cool that it started off as kind of the McElroys and then ended as the McElroys weekend.
So my best from the weekend, I thought it was from the weekend. It's a video that was going around that was actually from 2019.
Oh, technicality. I don't know if it counts.
But I don't think it does count. I'm just going to tell you the video anyway. It was Utah at practice football. Kyle Whittingham. It wasn't a prank, but they were setting up one of the players, Kyle Lanterman, who was a walk-on, and they put his phone near him at practice, and then they turned it on, and they had his mom call at a certain time. So in the middle of Kyle Whittingham giving this, practice, and his phone starts ringing. This Kyle Lanterman's phone starts ringing, and Whittingham's like, "Hold on, what the heck?" And he's like, "I'm so sorry, Coach. I don't know." And he hands him the phone. He goes, "It's your mom." He's like, "Well, heck, answer it then." Answers it. And Mom was like, "Hey, Kyle, I just wanted to be the first one to tell you that you're on scholarship." And everybody goes crazy. I'm like, "Oh, that was awesome." It was from 2019, so that was annoying. So I'll give my best from the weekend. We didn't play all that great in the tournament this week in the prospects, but we had our first 2 actual legit over-the-fence home runs in the tournament. JoJo, Bo, big-time home runs. One right down the left field line, smoked at JoJo, and then into left center gap, Bo. Those are our 2 power hitters, and Bo. It's one of those where when they both hit, it's like, "Go ball." We hadn't had it yet. We've had the Little League home runs, but we had legit home runs. So that was my best from the weekend, not necessarily how we played. Best for you, Sterling?
Yeah, Turnpike Troubadour's new album, The Price of Admission. I love Turnpike Troubadours, one of my favorite bands of all time. Love seeing them almost every single year. But yeah, the album Price of Admission just came out April 11th. I believe that was on Friday, or to listen to about 4 or 5 times. But Heaven Passing Through, The Devil Plies His Trade, Ruby Ann, Nothing You Can Do. All those songs are just phenomenal. He is one of the greatest songwriters, Evan Felker, of this generation.
Nice.
The whole band is just phenomenal.
What's the price
of admission?
I get it.
Yeah.
Warzone next. of what's going on in the games. Also at video to where you can sometimes, watch the live stream. And then after it's over, they have, like, the video cut-ups of, like, every single play. Like, I don't know if you guys had that or not, which is pretty pretty awesome,
we did not
man.
have any of that. That sounds extremely
because I showed
advanced.
you, I was...
it's like a ring camera for every single game.
Right. I had to go through and look at the entire game is on there, so the video is just set up right behind home plate, just so I could see Bo Hennis, his home run into left center. And then it wasn't working on Friday night for some reason with JoJo Carter's home run, but that's okay. That's all right. We got it. But Dylan, did you have that when you played because this is fascinating to me because
Not
after
the video, but it was like a game cast.
Yeah, it's a game stream, and now like every single at bat is cut up individually after the game is over. You can just go through and see like top first. There's a single, there's a walk, single, there's a walk, there's an out.
I feel old. No, we did not have any of this.
Dude, it's crazy. It's phenomenal.
I'll get my walker,
Yeah.
with the tennis balls on the bottom.
And it helps out because my wife doesn't have to then go behind home plate and video Everett swings every time just so we can film study later on. Dylan, I got to get him to stop casting, man. He's got this habit, man. He casts from time to time. I'm like, dude, you are not fishing, brother. All right? Keep that tennis ball in that elbow.